Got a stadium sound today.
Really?
Hey, Chief, can you speak for a minute?
Part of
Just any words.
Davis,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, or somebody.
So, yeah, we need to.
No, it actually. These aren't pairing correctly. It's because someone unplugged them. Chief, can you speak again?
Can you hear me?
Rely on. No.
Wednesday, July 3rd, day before July 4th, and we're here. We are dead. We do. I would like to start off with the public hearing if that's appropriate, and we have things that we're supposed to be reading here. You have.
We do.
So we're gonna vote to sign the certificate of vote for Chris Coates to enter into an agreement for Cheshire County to act as the fiscal sponsor for the transformational planning grant for $100,000 for Southwest Regional Planning Commission's planning project with their commissioners.
Commission.
Regional Planning Commissions.
Oh, 300. Oh, okay. So we're gonna open a public hearing to address the community development block grant awarded to the Development Finance Authority. They vote to sign the grantees if enter into an agreement. This will sponsor and now recognize Jack Ahern to speak on the matter.
Thank you very much, and thank you for getting me this morning, commissioners. Back on September 20th of last year, I brought this application before you for a transformational planning grant for $100,000. That'll be subgranted directly to my organization, Southwest Region Planning Commission. It's not too often that the Community Development Finance Authority produces or allows grants that give organizations like mine this kind of freedom to choose what we do with the money. This grant is allowing us to pursue and facilitate efforts to develop new housing projects in the region. We're partnering with 3 other regional planning commissions, Nashua, Southern and Rockingham Planning Commission, and we're each doing region-specific plans to try to increase the housing stock in our neighborhoods of the state. So you've already agreed to enter the agreement on September 20th, but I'm back again to have you agree to sign the grantee certificate.
We attempted to have this certificate of vote signed then, and you did, but they rejected it due to the dates. We're working on getting them to recognize the repetitiveness here.
Quick question, is the 100,000 split between the other organization or each one getting 100,000 to work on this?
It's split, so we each are ending up with a little over 20,000 each to our planning activities. Yeah, unfortunately.
Nobody specific, remind me if there's any specific projects.
What our planned projects are, our main one is we're going to do a ADU, that's accessory dwelling unit design challenge, to create kind of hopefully to create a set of pre-approved ADU designs that homeowners can either, they don't have to go through the permitting process as much when they want to build an ADU on their property. So we're gonna try to partner with architects and get a kind of catalog of pre-approved ADU designs. It's one of our objectives.
There was a detached unit up by me on Elm Street that went smoothly, very smoothly for senior couples.
Please.
Oh, there was a detached ADU project at the end of Elm Street from one of my neighbors. Elderly couple put in modular on their property, and their kids are moving into the house, and it went very smoothly. I mean, things almost done.
That's here in Keene, correct?
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
just started this spring.
I
so.
think Keene has recently seriously or done away with any ADU restrictions or not done away with them entirely, but made it much easier for people to, build ADUs on their property. Some of our surrounding towns have not caught up.
So is that accessory dwelling unit?
Yes,
I apologize if you already said this. What is an ADU?
accessory dwelling unit. It's, basically just, on your property, another apartment or,
They used to call them mother-in-law apartments.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Right,
yeah, it's
but now beyond,
That makes
being able to split the house into two units, you can
Okay.
actually build something else.
Okay.
Detached on your property,
Okay.
and,
So the kids can move home.
yeah,
Yes.
the kids can
Sounds
move
good.
home, and, yeah.
But it's good because I know that probably in mid-1990s, we were looking at, my mom lived on our street, she had an acre on the backside, but for whatever reason, the city, and it had access to a street. City said we couldn't build a house on the property. So this is good because it's just a waste of land right in the middle of, the west side of Keene. Good.
So when you say kind of pre-approved, designs, Jack, pre-approved by, I guess,
so it would have to be municipality specific, I'm thinking, and take this catalog of designs, to town select boards and have them
Oh.
review and kind of pre-approve them so that when the permitting process comes up, it can be.
so they would just kind of approve this, have it on the shelf, if somebody comes forward.
Yeah, they know that it
Makes it
fits within
more
their
streamlined.
code standards.
Yeah, okay. Any, comments from the public? None, any questions from staff or the commissioners? Seeing no other public input, I close the public hearing on the community development block. I have a motion on the CDBG grant contract and certificate of vote.
So moved.
Second,
Say aye.
I,
No, the ayes have it. Second public hearing. Vote to approve and sign an amendment to micro enterprise grant agreement to extend the end date, increase the amount. I open this public hearing to address the community development block grant extension amendment and to vote to sign the grantee certificate to enter into an agreement to extend the grant performance period and increase the funding out. Nice job, Aaron, again, to speak on the matter.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much. Again, you already heard this on March 1st of this year. And again, we're back to just have you sign the certificate of vote for this amendment. The micro enterprise CDBG program, supports small businesses around the state to qualify as a micro enterprise. It's an owner operated business with 5 or fewer employees. Hannah Grimes Center and the Small Business Development Center of UNH are the two program leads under Cheshire County's micro enterprise program. This is an extension amendment to the award for the 23-24 program year. The Community Development Finance Authority has provided us with the opportunity to extend instead of submit new applications. This program normally rolls on a year-to-year basis. So instead of having to reapply, they just have us submit amendments this year, and they essentially are giving us more funding for the next year in the similar amount to what we got this year. Funds are increased from 562,540 to 1,058,035 for the whole 2-year period now. Hannah Grimes Center will serve an additional 50 micro enterprises, bringing their total to 100, and New Hampshire Small Business Development Center will serve an additional 25 to bring their total to 65 clients. Hannah Grimes clients are generally almost all in Cheshire County. I think they have a few up in Sullivan County, but small business development centers are all over the state. They're under the umbrella of UNH sponsored programs.
Did we ever get to know who's been the beneficiary of the grants? grants?
I could send you a list. They serve a lot of these small businesses every year. It's pretty extensive.
They also come before us.
We used to bring them before you guys, but now I've been signing off on them because they're all over $5,000.
Okay.
I look them over, usually more of a skim, but I tend to read the narrative section of what the project involves. Very diverse, huge range of projects. But yeah, we could get you on this.
Yeah.
I'm just curious from the visibility point of view that, and it's for the record, that perhaps a few more members of the public could appreciate the extent of the small business machine that drives the economy locally.
It would be nice that if you guys could send us something over, maybe a paragraph, and then list out just what this is, and then that Cheshire County's been supported, and then the who they are.
And
I
we
think-
can
I
also
think-
present that during the mid-grant hearing. We typically do that in
Yeah.
March. So
Okay.
if Jack could make a note
That's fine.
that maybe we
Yeah.
can invite one or two to come speak on their projects.
Yeah, just to, get a little daylight on it and let people appreciate,
We like to tell the stories.
Yeah.
If we're helping by doing what we're doing, then I think it's important for the community as a whole to know that at the same time.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
also get frequent requests from, frequent is a special word, occasional requests from small businesses for prospective grants, and there are few to none, except this one. And I often refer them to Hannah Grimes because it's a pass through. So we do get a little bit of awareness to the program that way too.
Yeah.
And it also could be helpful to be getting some long-term feedback, such as 5 years after the fact, or 10 or 15 years after the fact,
What's next?
to be finding out,
Hmm.
has the company really thrived, or did they bite the dust?
Yeah,
That I have no idea if that's something,
I-
but these are short-term grants.
Yeah, I do believe Hannah Grimes stays in touch with all the businesses that pass through their micro program. It's a 3-year program. They only get the $5,000 one time, but they get business coaching and other technical assistance from Hannah Grimes Center. I think if I reach out to them, they could provide us with.
I think Mary Ann's talked about this in the past too, because it's important for them to have that data grants to show the outcome, of what this money allowed them to do, that they want to have that data.
Well, it is useful, I think, and interesting because we know, it gets to the 5-year mark on small businesses. Either make it or break it, statistically. But actually that failure rate, or success rate would be useful in terms of, I'd say, the diligence of a plan. See these funds, whether they actually have a sustainable model. Being like rescue funds or another.
I think one of the things that Hannah Grimes Center takes care of is it's coaching them with their business model to make it as viable as possible. Obviously, we can't assure that business will survive, but it is something they strive to do, is to give them all the resources they need to get to a spot where they can survive and thrive.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and I just think in this day and age, anything we can do to ensure that small businesses are having the opportunity to grow, entrepreneurs have the ability to have that dream come to a vision. Yeah, that's reality. It's helpful because I don't see, you can have industrial parks throughout the county, but there are big businesses coming in, big major business those days. I just don't see them anymore. A lot of that, the workforce, I get it, but I just don't think New Hampshire's inviting enough and compared to other states that are really rolling out the red carpet for companies to come to them, and they have the workforce that we just don't have. So
We need that marketing video.
yeah, and I think the other thing is that we need to, I think this is proactive in the sense that these businesses may not always, look at Smith Medical. They're condensed, they were bought, they're condensing, they're moving some other place. This is a reality that you're facing with Markham, with Timken, with all these other companies, that someday they may not be, but if we have a strong workforce here, doesn't mean we don't feel the hurt, but maybe we feel the hurt less because we've developed this workforce went around.
Comments from the public? Seeing none, further questions from staff or commissioner? Seeing none. Close the public hearing on the CDBG grant extension amendment. I'll accept a motion from Commissioner England to sign the grant contract and the certificate of. Second by Commissioner. Yeah, that. Third public hearing. Vote to adopt the three-part plan / policy specific CDBG grants, housing, community development plan, citizen participation, even seniors. I'll open public hearing to address and update the Cheshire County Housing and Community Development Plan and policy specific to CDBG programs. And Jackie Ahern will speak on this again.
Thank you very much. So this is an update to the Housing and Community Development Plan. This is a county plan, but it is required by the Community Development Finance Authority that all municipal bodies that act as fiscal sponsors for community development block grants adopt a housing and community development plan that kind of guides your decision to act as fiscal sponsor for projects. Make sure that when basically I come to you and say, hey, we have this project being proposed, you can reference this plan and say, does this fit with our housing and community development plan? Does it match with our goals and what we want for our community? What we're updating is we are adding the citizen participation plan, which basically formalizes and codifies into this plan what we do for every project already, which is hold public hearings, take a vote on accepting the on submitting the application and accepting the award if we're awarded the funds. This also stipulates that I come and give you a mid-grant hearing halfway through a project, and give you an update on what's going on, and that we solicit the public for their opinions on all our projects. And that's done through newspaper ads and these public hearings as well. The second part is the grievance procedures, which basically just formalizes a path for any citizen who does have a complaint about a project we sponsor, gives them the laid out outline of how to file such a complaint, and it designates Suzanne as the grievance officer who would deal with the complaints if they do come in.
Incidentally, we've never had a complaint come through my office. Chris, has any, says, he's not regarding grant.
All the time.
I think we're good, guys.
Yeah. All right. Questions from the public? Seeing none, questions from the commissioner? Seeing none, no other public inputs, I'll close the public hearing. Plan, and we'll have a motion to update the policy.
So moved.
Okay, say aye.
Oh,
No.
where is this?
Yeah,
Reside?
it's happening.
I'm not, I have it in my file.
For
You-
us,
you have
this is, to be clear, this is a policy very specific to CDBG. So it outlines a citizen participation plan and a grievance procedure only as it relates to CDBG. I hold it within our files. He's gonna keep it within his files. That's it. I recommend we have one countywide. But this is just for CDBG. So we don't have any obligation to post it publicly or put it anywhere other than in our files. It's, from what I understand, we're checking a box to make CDFA happen.
Yes.
Okay,
Just a quick follow-up question. What is CDBG doing now to be helping the household? In Point Cheshire County, and number two, throughout the state.
Currently, we do have some housing projects here in Keene, particularly if it's through the city, is sponsoring that. It's the Roosevelt School project on Washington Street.
Okay.
And also another to support the Base Hill Cooperative Community, the manufactured housing park on Base Hill Roads, water infrastructure is to the point where it's threatening their ability to continue operating as a cooperative park community. And so we have another grant to replace their water system so they can all remain in their homes.
I thought that was already done. Was that the?
This will be the second
Oh, it is. Okay.
block grant to address their problem.
And the transformational planning grant.
And
was
the
Signed off.
Transformational planning grant should help us with planning activities to try and set the stage for more housing.
Now, they're a finance authority, so their authority is on the finance aspect of it. The best they can do is give money to commissions like Southwest Region Planning Commission to facilitate planning activities and to fund the projects per applications put forward before them. But they can't actually like do the stuff. That's for us.
And technically, yes, the city of Keene appoints the commissioners on Keene Housing, but Roosevelt is a Keene Housing project. They're doing everything to make that a reality. That's 60 units, which in my world means 120 units, because if those people are coming from somewhere that loosens up on the other end, so that's a good thing.
For the 60 units, how many will be in the school structure? How many will be in the property behind it, which is the whole? What will the total cost be and
The old school building will have 14 apartments. They're building an extension basically off of the old school building, which will have 16 more. So there'll be 30 in phase one.
Mhm.
The brand new building behind it will have an additional 30 for the total of 60. And I believe the total cost is close to 12 million for both phases.
Yeah, 12 million per day.
Yeah.
So the gym side that we added on, left of the building, goes away.
Holy
The
crap.
old-
Yeah, holy cow.
What's the square footage of the average unit? You know,
No.
get a sense.
I know the units in the old school building will be have different layouts because they're accommodating for the building, the historical building footprint. But I don't know square footage. I know that they will all be designated for low and moderate income people.
Do you know what one or two are in the studios?
$857,000.
That's four.
Yeah.
Four.
That was 12 million. Well, for phase one of 14.
Yeah, there's two of them, two things.
Yeah, 12 million each.
Yeah. 60.
You know what size they are?
I believe they're primarily two-bedroom units.
60 units?
400. That's
Oh, yeah.
what was that?
Underestimated.
Or 800 square?
Well, that's the average price of
the house.
a house. It's.
Well, it's up to 375, Cheshire County. Wow,
What is it in Cheshire?
375. Still, that just emphasizes people around here don't make that kind of for stuff like that. And that's the price it's gonna be going for.
Practically double them.
I mean, it's absolutely insane. Absolutely. I mean, how do you deal with issues like this without some people stand on their own 2 feet? Construction costs are just crazy.
The good thing is that over the last month, they've seen a major drop in wood
And wood pricing.
pricing. So that's helpful. They weren't expecting it, but the reality is that nobody's
Well,
building.
last fall it went up.
Yeah. But nobody's building at this point because they can't afford it, and nobody's moving, and the stock is, is low. I mean, it's just, so, well, I don't know what it means in the scheme of things, but it's a positive, I guess. For Keene Housing, if it's gonna, maybe it'll help. I've asked Josh what the square footage of each unit is and the cost.
Yes. All right, thank you, Jack.
Yes, thank you very much, commissioners.
Wow.
Okay, moving on. I don't see any public, so I'm gonna move on to elected officials, department heads. I'm gonna start with Catherine.
They weren't meant to.
Catherine, if you could, actually start, I know you're talking refrigerators, mini, but also talk about the outbreak and all that. That would be great too.
Outbreak.
Certainly. We have 20 residents that are sick and I don't have the total right within my reach for staff. What exactly would you like to know about it?
I just like the commissioners to be aware that, you know, we used to have this on a regular basis because it was reporting, you know, it was something that we were doing, but it hasn't gone away.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so you know, the COVID hasn't gone away and they're seeing this across the country right now. I was watching a news show last night just saying that they're seeing an upswing, and it's especially in Ohio and Michigan in that area, but that they're seeing an upswing in the COVID cases. It hasn't gone away. It's just that we're treating it differently as a society because we move forward with the expectation we're just gonna move through it. People get shots, people don't get shots, but it's still there hanging over our heads, especially around our nursing homes and the expectation that they have to carry still to this day.
is it less virulent than it was, Catherine, symptomatically for these people? Do we do the same procedures that we did a year or two ago?
Yes, nothing has changed for nursing homes. For example, anytime any resident has any symptom that can be associated with COVID, we immediately isolate and test them. And then there's a procedure from which we would continue to test them and then take them out of droplet precautions if they don't test positive after that prescribed period. For those that do test positive, again, there's a prescribed policy procedure we have to follow, and we have to test all folks that come in contact. Everyone's in masks on the affected unit. We have to post and alert any visitors that are coming in. It's very clearly posted at the podium. I additionally sent out a letter to the families just because it's been so long since we've had such a major outbreak. We actually didn't have any COVID cases for the third or fourth quarter of 2023. We had 3 cases in the first quarter of 2024. And this is our first major outbreak in 2 years. For nursing homes, we still have the same rule where any staff that get sick, the day that they test positive is day 0, and they need to be out pretty much the whole 10 days. I know that for the rest of the world and the public, that the CDC has said it's a much shorter period of time that you need to self-isolate and then you can get back into the world, but not in nursing homes. And as always, we still can't stop folks from coming in and or not wearing masks. And we were able to isolate this to determine it was actually a visitor that came in and did not tell us anything of concern. And it was one resident that tested positive. And then 4 days after that, even though we'd put everyone into isolation, it didn't matter. That one resident shared it with everybody at the table, because that's pretty common. And of course, it shared with all the staff that came in contact. So at this point, anytime we find a positive case, particularly on our dementia unit, where it's really difficult to keep those residents isolated and in their rooms, they don't necessarily understand, they come out, we redirect, they come out, we redirect. So essentially, when it gets onto the dementia unit, it's pretty hard to contain for any nursing home. So nothing has changed for us. We still have all the same rules and regulations. The only difference right now is there's no vaccine mandate, and we're finding, vaccine fatigue is the best way to describe it, whether it's for staff, but it's also for residents, that there's just not an interest any longer.
What's the number of positive cases now, and is everyone within the building required to wear masks?
There are currently 20 positive residents, and anybody going onto the impacted floor is wearing N95s and goggles.
Which of the floors is affected at this time?
It's the top floor.
Top floor. Top floor, you mean?
I'm sorry?
Is it the top floor, which is largely empty?
No, no, the top floor is full.
Top floor is full.
There's one that's only got 10 residents, but that's not the top floor. What is it, third floor that's empty
Yes.
or was empty?
Okay, moving on.
All right. Thank you.
Now, the topic of real discussion here.
So in preparation for getting the red barn emptied out, we need to do quite a domino effect of calling things out. And one of the things that Aaron and I have found is that when we replaced all of the ALF mini fridges within, I forget if it's a year or two ago now, because the old fridges weren't frost free, and every time that there was a power outage, it would make quite the mess. So we still have 16 not frost free mini fridges that we're storing, and we really need that space. We know that to bring any of these fridges to any landfills, we would have to pay, and they are still working. So I'm looking for your thoughts and guidance on if this would be an appropriate project to have your blessing that we can offer these up to staff, families, whomever, for a set price, so that we avoid paying for disposal, but we could, if you would guide us to do so, be able to ask for a set amount, if you would so choose, and it could go to the activities, resident activities fund.
We have a surplus property policy,
We do have,
and isn't that part of it?
What do you think the unit value is, and how many did you say there were again?
16.
16?
I would say,
And how old are they?
Some are still original, so they'd be from 1997, 1998.
at the most.
Oh, at most.
I mean, you could buy a brand new one for about 150.
Yeah.
I'll take a one for our office.
One thought we had was we're figuring it's maybe $25 to $30 to dispose of. So would you see fit that we suggest anyone who wants to put a $30 donation to the Resident Activities Fund can get one of these until supplies last?
It sounds great.
Always look internal first and see if we can.
You think 30 is too rich for a 20-year-old refrigerator?
The reason that I'm suggesting that number is because we're guessing it's about $25 to $30 to dispose of each of these fridges.
No, I understand that.
In other
Well-
words, you're saying just see if you can move them, just move them at whatever.
Would there be Freon in these? Are they that old? Since, chief?
Yeah, I believe so. Any refrigerant is gonna be a cost to dispose of from my own personal experience with refrigerators.
I'm fine with offering it up to staff, and I'll let you guys set.
Yeah,
And
to a point where it's just maybe if they would like to donate to the activity, not a price, but if they'd like to donate, if that's all right with you.
That's fine.
I mean, in other words, just get rid of them. We're trying to get space
so
here.
to all staff, not just nursing,
Right,
all staff.
any step, yeah, we can post that countywide.
All right. I'm fine with that.
Can
You know what? And
I think the
and
value-
Catherine,
Has the July newsletter gone out yet?
no, but
and just make it first come, first served.
Yeah, what I think you could do with Catherine, you could start with just your staff and then open it up and we put it in the newsletter, and by then whatever's left is left.
And one has Cheryl's name on it.
One of them has to be Cheryl's.
I'm just talking about for our office.
You understand?
Just for you. Just for your
Although I think Rod has a good one over in his office.
Does,
But I
does.
haven't raided his office yet, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Somewhat I have, but not totally.
Who's gonna get his name first?
I know, he's got a little apartment going on over there, so
All right.
never mind, I got something better in store.
I need it for.
Okay, so let me just to reiterate, one piece of information is that yes, the July newsletter has already been completed because I saw them all getting printed off. So we have missed the July newsletter. I can put this through email. We can start at Maplewood, and then we could put it through all department heads throughout the county. And if there's still supplies left, it could go in the August newsletter as well, to focus on staff. And do I understand correctly? You want it to be first come, first serve with a donation to the activity fund without a set price?
If you like to, in turn, give a donation to,
You and Chris can work out.
yeah, well, we can work out.
It's minimum.
My bigger, yeah, we'll talk offline after this.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, so I'll talk offline with you, but depending on whatever you and I talk about, we can move these refrigerators without disposing them initially.
Yeah, so if he wants to say, well,
Yes.
yes. Yes, okay, yes, there you go. Definitely.
Thank you, Catherine. Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Bye-bye.
Hi, Catherine.
Chief?
Good morning. So I'm here to speak to a couple things. One is more my own learning process on how to purchase items. But first, I know that some of you may have already heard of Winchester Fire Department reached out to us to assist them in the coming weeks with staffing and coverage for their town. We have work to do that. We start on July 8th with coverage, and we're moving forward to keep the cost down as much as possible. They will be reimbursing us what they pay their employees, which is normally $15 an hour for their EMTs, but they've agreed to reimburse us to $16.15 for our Social Security and Medicaid tax that we have to pay for our employee benefits.
He's frozen.
Yeah.
Medication.
And that's,
So this is certainly a cost, but it's, I believe, with the call volume that I just got an unstable network connection. So can you all still hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
You come in and out a little bit here.
Yeah.
Just a
All right.
video.
So that's progressing nicely. And again, we're here for the citizens of the county, and this is going to show that immensely, not just in Winchester, but throughout the rest of the departments in the county that all talk to one another and realize that we're here to help no matter what, which is what we've put forth, certainly since I've been in this role. Are there any questions about the?
we have a little
show of it?
Chief and I, and even Chris came in on the conversation, threw around a bunch of different things. Because it's not just getting the $16 an hour reimbursement. We'll also be able to bill for the calls because at least when we are covering 100% of the time, because there may be times where we're only sending one of our EMTs or AEMTs there to be the second person for their ambulance. So if that's the case, we can't bill because it's not our ambulance. But the times, I think those 8 times, those will definitely be all our ambulance.
The first phase is all right.
Sorry, well, I know you said it, but what's the length of time it's coming to week?
6 to 6. 6 in the morning, 6 at night,
For how many days?
8.
Oh,
And so, some of this might be at overtime, some of it may be at straight time. Chris suggested, and I assuming that's kind of rolling out, that because of the hours, if there's times that the captains can go and do,
Or deputy.
or
chief
deputy
chief.
chiefs can
Yeah.
do some of these, that's not like added costs, because they're getting a salary for their week, but if there's ways to kind of get creative on our end of the expenses so that it's not totally overtime. But, you know, I think, what did we come up with, that we might be able to cover the cost if we got like 38 calls or something?
I think it
And
was even less than that, Cheryl. Can you guys
It
hear
was
me?
4 calls, 32,
It's like
32 runs, and 4 calls a day.
Yeah, it was like an average of 4, and that was being very conservative, figuring that we'd be able to bill maybe about $300, because there's gonna be times that we may not get any reimbursement because it just doesn't get paid. It could, but I bet the population's gonna be mostly a mix of Medicaid, Medicare, or no insurance. And so we're gonna do our best to maybe try to follow the calls, to just, it, you know, that it's gonna have to be a very manual process. Feeding information to say, to me, so I can then go back, look at the reporting that comes back from EMEX to identify what we were able to recoup.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of a test to just.
Yeah. The only thing I'd suggest that we would look at, to me, going forward, if we're gonna do this, we look to always do the transport, because that mitigates the direct out-of-pocket cost
Yes.
of town protection. So if we give up the transport, and yet we're providing basically their ability to provide the service, they're the ones getting the revenue, so that almost negates the cash they're giving us, and it penalizes us, so. I know that in the old days, prior ambulance service, Swansea would go through this, that if their ambulance showed up, then the old ambulance company showed up. They'd have this exchange, they, wait a minute, we're the transporting entity, not you. And, because it's important for revenue, so.
And
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
that's a
I-
step further that goes with this, is that when we have those circumstances that we're just providing a body to be the second person for their ambulance. I know it's in just kind of, we're kind of in a test phase, at least with
This is,
the,
this is
that
a new.
perhaps maybe we can say, in addition to the 15, we want to split the revenue that you get. You're gonna give us
Well,
half of what you
Well, the
generated.
first thing, it's the second, it's in August, when we look at August, there may be times where they need one person. You know, and we don't know what the dates are per se yet, but they know they're short staffed. And so I think for us to have the conversation about the second phase, which is what you're really talking about right now, and how we can make it so it's manageable for everybody that's participating. Because at the end of the day, what this shows us, whether it's Troy and Fitzwilliam, whether it's Winchester, whoever else, Jaffrey Ridge, they are doing incredible work to stay open, to be able to respond to their communities. But it shows how fragile the system is, and this is why we're here. And so for us to be able to step in, but it's gotta make sense all across the board. It's one of the reasons why we came up with some of the things that we've done. Go back to them and say, can they add in like, you know, chief, can you look at it, you know, your guys, some of your guys that are salaried, doing some of the runs. They're more than willing to do it because, one, the deputies and the chief want to be able to keep active and have their hands in on writing the ambulances and dealing with patients, just for their credentials.
Well,
and their experience.
Well, as you know, my position has always been that everybody serves some time on because it keeps you in contact with the customer, keeps you in contact with the patient, keeps you in contact, gets you in the vehicles, you know, so nobody's at a desk job.
Yeah.
Except.
And the great thing with all these guys is that they've been very, very open, very upfront about having that they've had to step up when we've had shortages and stuff, so they've been doing the bus all along.
Sure. Well, as well they should.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
What percent are women
Of
the
staff.
EMTs staff?
What percent are women? is,
What percent of women? Rough, 10?
Oh, I bet you more than that. 30% maybe?
um,
I guess.
30.
If it's 30, then it's more than 50% is. I mean, we
No,
get 50, if we get 50 staff,
I can go, I can look.
yeah,
I'll get that for you.
let's see who can get it first.
So
Curious.
I just want to be, I know we want to help, and I'm not suggesting we change anything.
Yeah.
But let's not lose sight of the fact that providing this service is expensive. And everybody, county needs to begin to understand that.
Yeah.
So $16 an hour doesn't cut it. It doesn't pay for anything.
Right.
I mean, it does. Appreciate that they have a budget issue, perhaps. But I have to begin to, through our own actions, have all of the subscribers and users understand that this is expensive at some point. We've got to pay for this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still, and I'll be given a report for the month of June, and I will say, and not to divert the total conversation. The receipts for the month of June were $250,000, which is great, and but May was 198. It's like I still haven't seen like a good, what is the norm, but I mean, I'm hoping that we'll see, I just feel like you probably see it in the receipts. There is just, the majority of our receipts are ambulance, so that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Can we,
but-
hey, chief, is your mic
Yes.
working?
I'm trying to work on that.
I've got the information, and he doesn't have to, he can keep concentrating
Don't
on.
worry about it.
Well, yeah.
Cheryl can get-
Cheryl can get that. Yeah, so he wanted to make people aware that, you know, that's where we're at.
So that's my concern, because, you know, next month, towns are gonna start putting together their budget. We have to be able to give them a figure.
Yeah.
We have to give them that,
Well,
whatever that sticker shock.
2025 are still protected
It's
under,
2026,
But
July of 2026.
we need to give them an opportunity.
I made it very clear, to the town administrator in Swansea, that by the end of September, they would have an idea where we're at.
Well, all the towns should.
Understood.
Even if it's gonna be 2 years down the road, they might wanna slide up gradually rather than one big bump.
No, but I understand that. What I said to him is, that would be across the board, but I gave him that's what I told us.
All right, I'm just,
Yeah,
no, I'm not sensitive about
yeah,
not giving bad news at the 11th hour. I mean, it's not that it's bad, it's not that it's unexpected, it just needs to be what it is. I mean, we
Yeah.
know what our revenue is, we know what our expenses are, and there's a gap, and there's gonna be some play.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. I just left real quick to make that happen.
Great.
So
So-
Jack, I understand your point of, yes, running an ambulance costs, and we incur costs every day when we're running these ambulances. And as we grow, and like Cheryl was saying, the amount received, you know, it does fluctuate because the calls fluctuate. I've said that from the beginning of, we're here to respond to the calls when we're needed. All right. Not just to be sitting around and getting paid for it. And at times that's going to incur a cost. Yes, we do need to make the towns aware in the future of what that cost on them may be. And in my conversations with Chris and Cheryl, this also may be a point of that 20% per quarter call volume that was originally agreed upon, as I'm being told, the gentleman's agreement from long ago. As we progress and build our relationships with these chiefs, which Deputy Chief Atkins has been instrumental in, it is going to be easier to have those conversations and to actually get the contract signed so that everyone knows where it's coming from. There's no surprises, and we do what's right for the citizens of Cheshire County.
Yeah, I know, I agree, we have a real disagreement, it's just, you know, even if it's like a 3-year rolling adjustment, the credit, we, if the reimbursements are gonna be variable, break even, it could be variable. We price it out. Then at the end of the day, we say, listen, we just told you your ambulance service is gonna be 280,000. But hey, good luck for you. We got more reimbursements, so it's really gonna be 230. But, we can always credit them, look back over the basic revenue is. But I think we need to be sure that the event the phone doesn't break. Because you're absolutely right, we're burning that fuel on the runway even if we don't take off.
Right.
So I'm just continually saying.
I mean, we set it up so that the burn is less overhead. Say there is an overhead, but less overhead and mostly staffing because the way the model we did, we chose to pay for the build out. We chose to pay for the ambulances up front, but there's still supplies, there's still electricity and heat that we have to pay for and water and all that other stuff. But it's less because we don't have the heavy burden. But at some point that will have to be added in on some levels as we age the system. But right now, we're just trying, this is really the first year where we've had the opportunity to really start monitoring where we're at and what we can be doing. When you're having the opportunity to have billables from 19 of the, well, from every community actually, because they're interfacility transfers, but 911s at least, we have the opportunity at least with 19 communities with 911s. And in some, we're still backing up those situations like in Fitzwilliam when they travel over to Peterborough to help those situations. I'm not Peterborough, Jaffrey, to help those situations.
Yeah, I know we're just, I don't have an infinite amount of time to advocate for proper pricing.
Yeah.
Whatever that balance is. How are the vehicles doing?
The vehicles are doing okay.
Can you knock on wood when you say that, please?
What's that?
Can you knock on wood when you say that?
The vehicles are doing well. All right. As you've all heard me say before, distance is not our friend. So the mileage does get racked up. And that's one of the main concerns that we have in the future of how do we keep our fleet up to date and running safely for the patients and our crews. And that will be start to be addressed next year in the 2025 budget process. But they are maintaining well. We've put in some restrictions on a couple ambulances, the older ones, for just staying local within the county. So mostly they're used for 911 responses. But these vehicles get driven hard because that's the nature of EMS, no matter where you are. And putting together that capital improvement plan for next year and more of a fleet management aspect is going to help us maintain these vehicles for as long as we possibly can.
I heard an instance the other day where we didn't have a medic available.
Yep, because they were both tied up on calls, and Dr. Scorsese ended up responding, which is how this system's supposed to work.
Yeah, I actually thought it was perfect. I thought it was great.
Which one?
Just Scorsese. Yeah, I actually thought it was great because, as we know, we've had numerous discussions about the balance of staffing and the demands of the weddings, fallbacks. So it was actually nice to see that roll out. And I thought that the hospital's ED medic rolled as well as Jim. Didn't they send their own?
To my knowledge, that day they didn't have a medic staffed, which is why Dr. Scorsese went out in his capacity because he was able to respond that day. And that's the thing is, with our staffing and the model that was set up for 11, that is showing what it takes to really cover this county properly for EMS.
Yeah.
All right. And at times it's taxed and we don't have the resources. So I don't think that happens all that often, but when it does, our crews, step it up a bit more to get back in service more quickly, but they remain focused on the task at hand, which is the patient in front of them, not the next call coming in.
No, yeah, there's absolutely no element of criticism, because I think that, for the proper balance of staffing, given the uncertainty, BMS, having a few periods where you're temporarily shorthanded demonstrates that we do everything we can to provide 100% service, given that you never know what the demand's gonna be. Sometimes you're standard in a lot of different directions, but
Right. And honestly, Jack, sometimes, even if you need a paramedic, you may not get one because they're tied up. But as long as there's a transporting ambulance responding, that's that first or second chain link in EMS care. The first starts with dispatch, then onto a transporting unit and such.
But I think we're not 2 years old yet. November 14th will be 2 years old when we started up this system. I believe, and there may be people that argue that, one, we've got 5 ambulances at paramedic intercept. They just broke their record, and they had in one day 23 calls that they responded to. Not that they wanted to break the record, it's just that's the reality that they were facing that day, and they stepped up and they met that. But at the same time, we have a partnership and a relationship with the hospital, and they've stepped up and they've done what they need to do to help us in those situations. So they're willing to do that because we're serving them. And I would like to know from January to current, what our interfacility transfers have been. Are we on pace to where we've been in the past? I'd like to know that, especially as we, head into the conversation on the 17th, with the hospital. But I don't need that today. But I think it's something that would be worthwhile. How do you hope from day one, from 2022 of November 14th to current, how many, and we need to break it down to like this year, January, to that point, how many we've done too. I just would like to see, because we've given them a consistency that they can rely on, and they would have probably a higher rate if the distances weren't so great. And they have 2 dedicated vehicles that are given to them, I'd say 98% of the time, unless we have calls that take those ambulances, 911 calls that take priority, and they know that.
are there many times where they get more than 2 units, chat? More than 2
No,
buses?
we pretty much keep it to the 2. Sometimes if it's a local, just like say a discharge to Keene Center right up the road, and we have really nothing going on in the staffing to meet the rest of the needs of the county, yeah, we'll make that third call happen. But we pretty much stick with the 2. And again, the distance is not our friend. So, and the hospital understands that, and they know that they're sending these patients, a very long distance away, and that's going to take a resource away from them for a while. We did actually just put into place with 415, this started yesterday, that they're going to track our IFTs. By that, what's going to happen is the captain will call in to 415 and say, I'm sending A1 out on a transfer. And then if a 911 call comes in, it'll be Cheshire County for the second call to whichever 911 address. So everyone will know that we have one resource out on an IFT at that point. Or if we have both trucks out on an IFT, it would be Cheshire County for the third call. So it'll make everyone aware more that, what our resources are available throughout the county.
And I don't have the ability to even track avenues for IFTs anymore. I mean, even under the old system, the only reason why I was able to is I had to manipulate the data coming from Coastal, and because they tracked them by call number, and the interfacility transfers were our own internal number. The 911 was their number, so I could tell that the 911 number was just a much greater number than, like starting with a checkbook of 101. We started with call number 1 for 911s. And I'm sorry, we started with number 1 for IFTs. They may be at like number 5,000. So I was able to export the information, and I could tell based on the call number that that was a 911 versus an IFT. And that's just not the way things come through anymore.
Do we have an ability to, what do you call that? What's that software program you? Right.
Tempsys or NHERS?
Well, I'm just wondering if you could track the IFTs by address.
By
Because you're
address? Yes,
you're just-
we are tracking it. All right.
but that-
Currently,
just-
currently per our data, we're at about 816 IFTs since the beginning of the year. And we can track that through NHERS or our Tempsys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He should be able to treat a number, but as far as the collected dollars that went along with those, that's where it's just
So-
all combined.
So the report from the ambulance
EMAX.
EMAX doesn't identify
I'm gonna show you,
address.
no,
Oh, because it's gotta be their home address.
they,
So it's not the pickup. It's a pickup point for chat purposes, but not billing purposes.
Billing purposes.
well, it probably is underlyingly when Rebecca goes in and gets this, so because she's gonna bill mileage and stuff, but
But, but Chad, you're saying we can track that, is what you're saying?
We've been tracking it internally, and like I said, we're right around 816 IFTs so far.
So, but Tempsys also has the billing information. So can we run a joint report with the address and the insurance information? Insurance number of the carrier, where you put the insurance information on Tempsys?
Yeah, as far as the insurance part, we can probably get into that, Jack, and figure it out. But so just so I'm clear, you want to know how often with our interfacility transfer reports that what we're receiving from the hospital or from that billing aspect?
Well, one of the things we were trying to do, we were a model was to track the number of transports by a care, so that we can estimate a Medicare, for example, Medicare transport might have been 350, Medicaid might have been 150, and Harvard Pilgrim might have been 900. But if we know the number of interfacility transfers and we have the insurance information, then we can estimate, and it's just an estimate, what the potential reimbursement rate is. Now, that doesn't accommodate the acuity level of the call. But it's we just need to be able to estimate, because, if we end up asking the hospital to pay a subscriber fee, it'll be based on our expenses of 24/7, 2 units, 2 buses, minus our anticipated revenue. Spares. And it's only an estimate. You may never be able to. I would think.
I'm sorry, Jack, you cut out there a little bit.
I don't necessarily have an answer, but being able to know the number of IFTs and the payer source gets us closer to estimating the potential revenue of the IFT.
Right. No,
It's not gonna be, not gonna be exact, because we won't be able to know the acuity and the level of care provided from that IFT, even if it's Medicare, because that rate's gonna vary considerably. But if we project the base transport Medicare reimbursement rate, then everything else is great, and then you just look back over your shoulder, and try to figure it out. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
and I think we can get that breakdown for you in the future.
What else did you have, Chief?
Last thing, like I said, this is me learning the procedure on how to purchase items. I know I messed it up with a purchase earlier this month that I came forward to both Chris and Cheryl about with a $9,300 bill for pagers that we need, and started to learn that process. So now I know we need 3 quotes for expensive capital purchases. I know it was put into the budget for last year to purchase a Lucas device for mechanical CPR, which aids in one, provider fatigue, better compressions, and such. So unfortunately, that quote was low with what was budgeted. So I've got a new one, but doing my due diligence, there's not a whole lot of competition out there for the Lucas device. The 2 main mechanical CPR devices out there are the Lucas and the Zoll Auto Pulse. The major differences is the Lucas is a plunger style, so it's actually mimicking your hands doing compressions, and the Lucas kind of squeezes the entire chest. So it's not conducive to certain patients, whereas the Lucas is more so. The other disadvantages of the Lucas of the Zoll is the weight, the portability. It's basically like it looks like a boogie board that you'd use at the ocean, but about 50 pounds. So not very easy to carry upstairs or employ onto a patient versus the Lucas, which is substantially lighter, comes in around 20 pounds, and is more compact, and a lot of other services use it around here. So I guess my next question is, now that I've brought this forward, how do I go about purchasing that item? Because
Well, you're not gonna be,
I'm sorry,
you're not gonna be able to get 3 quotes for Lucas, because it just is what it is.
It is
So,
right.
so,
I have
we
the
would just-
proprietary letter as well.
and that would be the same for the, the Motorola pagers, frankly.
Right. We were able to get 3 quotes for that though, Jack, and the $9,300 was the cheapest.
Bro, so you've got one from HEW Mutual Aid, and
R&R was the another one.
So a question for you would be, the number is, the change in the number, you have money set aside right now currently. But the new quote, which is not new to any America dealing with budgets, because pricing is, gone up since, whenever. And so what's the new, you haven't told us the number yet.
All right. So originally it was budgeted around $19,000. The current quote is $25,902. That's for the device, multiple suction cups that are able to be reused, but also disposable depending on how contaminated they are. A service plan, 2 batteries, truck charger, and a base charger for the batteries, along with I believe, a 5-year service plan through Stryker.
And do we have a current policy and procedure on the utilization of the compression device?
Yes, we do. It's really becoming the standard and even Dr. Swozy is becoming more and more on board with it because he does his CPR reports, and this takes a lot of the fatigue and inconsistency of human or trained professionals even doing the CPR. So it does provide better outcomes, potentially.
Good, he's coming along. But he was, well, statistically, according to the studies, as well as his own position, he felt that, the traditional, human compression was more effective. And
True.
that-
And if you have enough providers like they do in the hospitals switch out every 2 minutes, I do agree with that. However, when we have limited resources in the field and we're looking at, 30, 40, 50, 60, 90 minutes sometimes
yeah.
being on scene, we run out of steam a lot quicker than they would in the hospital.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I'm glad he's coming around on it, because, if we do one of those in Walpole, we usually have like 10 people. So we're rotating out compression every 2 minutes, and you just have a line and you're just moving through. You're doing your pit crew CPR, but we probably don't have that opportunity because we're only sending 2 or 3 folks. You're going into a community, you're still 30, 40 minutes.
Right.
So you
And
spend 30, 40 minutes on scene, trying to do what you do, and then you still have to transport. So
potentially, we don't
Is it Lou?
transport a lot of cardiac arrests, but
what's that? Say again, Chad?
I said we don't really transport a whole lot of cardiac arrests, so a lot of this is done exclusively out of the hospital.
Yeah.
But we are spending extended periods on scene trying to revive this person.
Well,
And
I'm glad.
limited resources.
You have a sense anecdotally how many responded to, say, this year, last 12 months?
So this is what we can do this year. If we purchase one through the budget, through the EMS budget, with the remaining SAMHSA grant money, because we have to do training on it and education, and it does help with overdose patients, we can purchase a second Lucas with grant money. That Mark, Deputy Chief Kramer, has already run through Jennifer and the grants department. So we'd end up with 2, and then hopefully in the future there's other programs where we could lease a number of Lucases and pay annually for that until they're paid off, and that would really get our entire fleet outfitted with them in the future and potentially in the near future.
And this first, or 1 or 2 Lucases, would that be in the intercept vehicle?
We would put one in the intercept, and then the other one would be more than likely on the medic transporting truck, because if something happens between here and Dartmouth or Springfield or Boston, having that device would be crucial until we could get to a closer hospital besides our intended destination.
And I apologize for sneaking out. Are you talking about this year or in the 2025 budget?
Well, I guess the question before us is, given that we had budgeted 19,000 for the Lucas and it's coming in at 25 plus, do we want to buy it this year regardless, and where would it? That's the question. Do you think that we're restricted based on the capital allocation?
If I remember, or I gotta remember in the budget, did we set it aside in the capital? Or is it just an equipment purchase?
I think
Gotta go back and look at the budget, hold on, because I
From what
feel like,
I think we set it aside in capital, didn't we?
Chad, do you know?
Yeah, it was put in the capital along with an amount for some radios, which I'm hoping that I found a better deal and is still available. And we also put in for a bariatric stair chair that's motorized, which that kind of doesn't work. It isn't needed. So that was put in for $15,000. So we should be able to move the money around to make the Lucas work.
I guess what I'm saying is, although you are all very accustomed to seeing that separate list of capital items in fund for, or account 4,900.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that we're keeping and containing all the costs of EMS in one fund, they just have simply a capital equipment purchase line within their bottom line budget of 41,247.
Okay.
And I feel, and I know originally they requested 60,247, and there was a particular item in there, and that's probably all been discussed, that was pulled out because it's gonna get purchased through the grant, not through their budget line item.
That probably would have been the other second.
It was not, yeah, that's the 19,000. So I guess, and this is the one coming in at 25,000.
It is.
So that's actually, those funds were actually pushed to the grant. Does the grant have room to allow for a $25,000 expense versus 19,000? And is that grant ends
It
what, in
does.
October? Okay,
The grant runs out the end of August.
August.
So I know that it had been discussed of pushing that that one purchase over to the grant. However, as we found out once Deputy Kramer and Sarah became more involved with the grant and administering it, that you can't purchase something as equipment. It has to be for training. And so there was a miscommunication at some point in the past when the budget was set.
But it is for training.
Right,
Because-
it is, but it can't be purchased and then it can only quote be used for training. So we have to purchase one first
Thing I've
through our budget, and then they can purchase one for training.
But didn't you
So-
just say that the two of them would be utilized? One would be for training, but then it could also be utilized for transport for long distances, and the other one would be on the paramedic intercept, so that in locally we had to shoot out someplace to assist, we could get on the machine, so it's not on one ambulance.
Correct.
But am I hearing you say that you
It has to
cannot
be
use?
purchased for training.
Okay,
This is
so,
like, it's like the equipment version of SPLAN. You're gonna use it for training, it stays in the training room, it's used for training. It's not used in lieu of buying regular equipment using grant funds.
Yeah. so this is what I'm hearing, if I'm following this appropriately. If you're asking, do we deal with this in 2025 because that's more money? My feeling is if this grant is ending in August, buy the one for training, even if it has to stay in training.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you're gonna have to deal with a whole nother
Right.
one in the 2020, or how many ever in the 2025 budget. So if the grant can handle the 25,000, even though we only allocated 19, because that's kind of fungible money where it's being spent, get it, because otherwise you just certainly you've gone past your opportunity of getting it one for at least training. And then the one that you actually want to use would have to come out of the 2025 budget. Otherwise,
Well,
we're asking for an amended budget to add more money to the EMF
Well, no,
budget.
no,
and we
well,
don't want to do that.
you might have been on the wrong, let me
Oh.
recap. If we could buy two this year, one would be the training one, and that's absolutely fine for training, because it's gonna get a lot of use training 50 people. So that's actually okay, I think. And then the one that would be in the paramedic intercept come out of capital. Capital,
Out of this
the
49.
additional money out of capital becomes available because what we're not gonna do, Chief, is we're not gonna buy the bariatric motorized chairs, which frees up some of the money that otherwise would have been taken out of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think if we're not gonna buy the bariatric chair,
Which is $15,000 of the budget.
then we'll use 5,000 of that to get the Lucas and we'll call it a day.
and then get the second Lucas through the grant funds
Yes,
for training.
yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, that's what I like to do.
Okay, so that would essentially, if I'm seeing this, so the $15,000 that we have budgeted for the bariatric chair or patients, we're not gonna get, so that would be 15 of the 25, so now we can need 10,000.
Right.
And I
Well, no.
heard,
Well, we had money in, we had 19,000, I thought, in the capital for the Lucas.
yeah, but it's now in the grant funds, that's it's
Oh,
not
moved
there
it.
anymore, we
Oh,
only
okay, so
have.
we didn't duplicate the Lucas. We
No.
just moved it over.
We have $41,000 available, which 26.2 is for the radios and 15 is for the bariatric.
Right.
And so I did hear you say you think you got better prices on the radios, and I'm not sure, I mean, $1,000 worth of savings, but,
Is there a match with the grant?
oh, I know, I don't believe.
The thing with that is what was quoted for the radios at $26,000. We don't need that high of an end type radio because it's got a lot of features that we are never ever going to use. All right.
So is it gonna come in at 16,000 perhaps?
Well, let me back up a little
It's a
bit.
lot cheaper than that.
Let me back up a little bit. Where do these radios forward? All the ambulances have radios. We got a bunch of portables.
They all have one per, and
Portable?
right, but we only purchased 6 Motorola's originally, and we have more ambulances than that currently. So this is going to increase our ability to communicate on scene and increase provider safety. And like I said, we've found different ways or a different outlet to get quality radios, which is one thing that the union has brought up in their negotiations of wanting better quality radios on and 2 per truck. And we've found a different way to go about that because we don't need these high-end Motorola's because most of the features are only used in Manchester for the airport.
So do you think between the Lucas and what you're feeling you need for portable radios, you could get the 2 of those for 41,000?
I believe we can get what we need with that $42,000.
Yeah, so I mean, so really that I think is the way to look at it, is he's got just shy of $42,000 to get radios and a Lucas, even though it was originally gonna be for a bariatric, and if he can make that work, then we don't even have an issue here.
But I'm gonna go back,
But
I'm gonna go back to the Lucas going into the grant. It was put in there for 19,000.
Yep.
It's now 25. Does the grant itself have that much money? to be able to cover
According
that?
to Chief, it does.
Okay.
From what Deputy Kramer, who has really done a lot of fantastic work with the grant monies and allocating them appropriately per the grant, yes, we can purchase a Lucas for the 25,000 from the grant.
And so the dealer has said that he can work with us within the confines that we may have, that you can get it to where it needs to be.
Do we have any quotes? I mean.
Well, you won't get competitive quotes on the Lucas.
No, and I have the single
Lucas is-
Okay,
letter as well.
okay.
Yeah.
So you guys would just have to waive the bidding
That's right.
process because of the
It would
sole
be
source
good to,
nature.
would it be good for Chief to put something in writing on why this and not that kind of thing, so that we have that, or?
No,
or-
I mean, I think we've had a discussion of these.
We have.
devices a lot.
I've actually witnessed this equipment.
I know, we used it in the office
Right.
2 years ago.
And I think that was sold at the time.
It was.
And so
That was the belt.
I couldn't miss the pounding that was going on in the next door.
But we also demoed the Lucas.
Yeah, we did.
But back then, Savosi was absolutely against it. I said, well, we're gonna buy at least one of them. If nothing other than training, and it is the future, and it's gonna happen. So,
Yeah, Lucas is the better future.
Well, at least we have enough recording here that.
all right, so let me ask one more question. The pagers, monitors. What line is that?
That would come out of the equipment purchase line.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll waive the bidding on the Lucas. We can actually do that today.
yeah.
And then work within the budgeted money for the radios and the other stuff and bring those forward whenever you've got the necessary, or the maximum amount of bids that you can possibly get. There's not that many sources for Motorola. And I'll be interested to see about the radios, but I'd make a motion that because Lucas is the only one that makes Lucas, there's no comparable technology or equipment that allows you to get multiple bids, that we waive the bidding for the Lucas.
Second.
Any questions? No. Seeing none, Commissioner Wozniak.
Aye,
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
there you go.
Thank you, gentlemen. And just for my own process and learning, I can contact our striker rep and place this order today.
You can.
And you have the money where you have the limit of where you can go to. If it's beyond that, then we need to have that discussion.
Understood.
Just a quick additional question. The decision to stop considering the bariatric stair chair. What happens if you get a 525 patient, who needs transport from the second floor of an apartment building?
So our current stair chairs, the only difference between the bariatric stair chair and our current ones are the motorized tracks. We have those, and if we had a 550 or 600-pound patient on the second floor, that's where we call in manpower and for the extrication. All right, our current stair chairs can handle that weight as it is.
So you do have a stair chair now?
Yes, all of our ambulances have stair chairs. They're the striker type, which has, what happens is you have the chair, but you have these tracks that kick out on the back, so you can tip the patient backwards, and you're actually rolling them down the stairs on those tracks, which means we don't have to carry.
Transported in Cheshire County.
Pardon?
Probably multiple.
What's the weight of the heaviest patient you've ever who has ever been transported within Cheshire County?
570 pounds.
That from Walpole?
I believe so, but I know that there's another resident, I believe in Fitzwilliam, that is getting up there as well.
Yeah. All right, let's move on with
All
that.
right, moving on.
You had asked, there's 36% female.
36% female.
18 out of the 50.
Thank you.
If you wanted to stay on the topic of EMS, I did just get the June report from EMAX, just so you can get a sense of, I handed them out before, but so you can see kind of the trends of the billing and the payments and stuff like that. They do a lot of graphs.
Is it graphic?
Yeah, there are some graphs. What you're not seeing in here that I pulled out is all the resident patient detail that says names and
Did I see a bar graph 5 months for revenue?
yeah, for receipts
Receipt.
and charges. You'll see one for charges and receipts.
Okay.
So it's looking up, I guess.
Well, it's looking up.
Well,
And
it's-
another day it's looking
Yeah,
down.
I know, it's so cyclical. But so basically, this first one is showing the patient count, which I guess is really I guess probably Chief could speak to this one a little bit more, but total patients that don't served, but then again, in addition, how many are new versus, I guess, recurring? Is that?
Yeah,
what that would mean?
I'm pulling it up right now, Cheryl. So, as that's loading, but yes, that's what it means is how many new patients have come across EMAX's billing process and how many are repeats.
And then when you go to the next graph, it's basically showing you the charges.
Oh,
The increase in, obviously the spike in charges in the December, January is because they had just taken on our account. And then the increase, actually, if you go to the payments, the increase in the receipts in April and the decrease that you're seeing in the February, March, is because that's when they were having that hack issue where they basically couldn't bill anything. So,
we're running around $627,500 a month
billings,
charges.
charges, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a big difference between what we receive. So, but then just to kind of show you, when I was sitting there explaining, I don't get a lot of information that allows me, unless I actually went back and compared and really did an analysis of Tempsys, but then you have to go into every single call and read them, and that provides whether it's an IFT or a 911. But the next one basically is showing on a cumulative December through June, the different types of charges that are coming through, whether it's mileage.
So that's almost 37% payments. It's started, so.
That's what I was in the midst of just doing too, is just try to figure out, because we had, initially last year, we were at about 29 to 31%.
Yeah, so we're getting closer to 40, that was kind of a goal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
February and June,
I just barely got the June, so I haven't had a chance to put it into context with the percentage of collection.
Yeah.
It's coastal
do we have a sense? So we've got the charges, we've got the payments. So in between there, copay or deductible or patient responsibility, do we have a sense of that receivable aspect?
Well, you can, I don't know if it's in here. So if you go to page, what's page noted as page 37, I think that this is where you're gonna see total charges, adjustments, insurance write-off, which is basically contractual adjustments. And then you can see how much is personal receipts and how much is insurance receipts. Now, this is specifically for June. So out of our receipts that we received, 38,000 came from personal and 211,000 came from insurance. Is that what you are asking on? I mean, at least this is for specifically for
So that
June.
would be the copay potentially.
Could be, it could be 100% because some people have no insurance at all. And they're responsible for the entire,
But somebody, a group of people paid.
Yep.
38,400 each.
yep,
It's pretty good.
It's an insurance write-off.
insurance write-off is basically the insurance company, when you, and this would be more like Medicare and Medicaid. Because we don't contract with other insurance companies, so that means they're gonna sometimes pay 100%. They're sometimes gonna say, no, this is
That's
all we're
the
gonna
part they're not
pay,
paying.
and this is gonna be, the balance is due from the resident, or the patient. But when you deal with Medicare and Medicaid, we have to accept what they're gonna provide. So even though we might have a $2,000 charge, Medicare may say, I don't care that you pay 2,000. Contractually, we're only gonna pay you $350. So that's the insurance write-off, is it's a write-down or a contractual adjustment.
Out of that, we've got to go to the patient for the rest of it.
No,
You can't?
when we're dealing with Medicare and Medicaid, the only
Yeah.
thing that we can get from the patient is any co-insurance. So
So
Medicare might have like an 80-20,
so
where
that's the amount we eat then.
Yes, that's so they basically automatically write down,
The only way that we can actually, we could actually get any change in that is if we possibly delegation to say, they're putting everybody on the brink, and they're creating, they're putting a burden on the taxpayer, the municipality, because they're coming in so low that they just, I mean, you know, get them up to $750. What would that mean to us? That would have a significant impact in our funding. So, you know, that's the only direction we can do is reach out to our federal delegation and say, this is another thing that because we've been working on the state level on the private insurance, which they have control over, but the federal with Medicaid and Medicare.
So does our billing amount take that under account so that at the end of the day, we're at least breaking even?
As best you can, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know the level of service that we're gonna have for Medicaid, individuals that have Medicaid.
You know, we make up our rules. Occasionally, we'll get an insurance company that get close to them. But because the majority of claims are either Medicare or Medicaid, you're limited by statute to what they're gonna pay, no matter what the hell your rates are. So the reason why we have the rates posted as what they are is just in case if you're private payer or pay more. It's an opportunity to get.
So,
You know how you go to a hotel?
Yeah.
Every room in a hotel is $40.
Right, so at the end of the day, the average comes out to close to breaking point to what they can run.
Well, it's like what he just said, the collection rate percentage is based on what we think we can collect. With coastal, that was down to 29 and 31%. We said we thought we could get to 40%. EMAX, you know, and we've seen a growth, which is we're heading in the right direction, and there's still work to be done. And so we don't know, we could actually be higher if we had came in January.
Right.
Fully, but we're still dealing with postal.
yeah, I mean, I am still seeing as a percentage of what's been billed. This is only through May, because I haven't updated June, but has been billed from the time that they took over, what we've received, and what's had to be contractually written off. That we're collecting about 32% of between what we're getting paid and what we're having to contractually write off. So the contractual write-off is still around 80 or 78% of.
How far off is that from what it actually costs us? So I guess that's.
Well, I mean, you can look
Well,
at
yes,
it from a bunch of
Because that
perspectives.
comes back. Now,
Yeah,
and
because
what are they charge for paramedics? It's a function of, they're gonna pay a fee, and we're gonna collect insurance. And hopefully between those two, you cover the day.
Right.
And you put up aside to buy maybe another ambulance.
So those charges to the towns. What, the buffer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're a big buffer. Because remember, you got a $5 million budget. And, you're not probably gonna collect more than $2.5 million in. And so you gotta get $2.5 million out of here.
And what concerns me
We have to come up
too.
with ways to make it work. There's different ways that we think we can.
It comes back to the core of the whole conversation about letting the towns know what it really costs and what happened to our predecessors. I mean, the fact is, it's spite of years of conversation. The old man about increasing prices. They never did that. And so they just went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until they died.
I mean, when everything push comes to shove, you know, a lot of focus has been here on our process to get where we are today. But in reality, if you look at themselves and stop thinking about getting a great deal because they're putting at risk the whole system. We wouldn't be here today if that conversation, what Jack just said, I don't think we'd be here today because they wouldn't be in the situation they are. They would have been able to do what they needed to do. So everybody can, you know, in the past, look wherever they would choose to look. But the reality is, it's that all that was set. I mean, that long before we got there, it was set because the inability. I mean, we got laughed out of town. We said we're going to be 2.5 times more than what, or 3 even, you know, percent more, or 3 times more than what the prior vendor was going to be charging. We got laughed out of there saying, why would we change? These guys aren't changing. This is a good deal, you know,
So for years, they just zero budgeted all of those.
Yeah, I think they were more, I really think that they're afraid that the towns would come up with their own solutions and they might lose the business or something. I don't know, but I don't know. I know what I've been told, but at the end of the day, they needed more money. They needed more money coming through that door.
At the end of the day, whether we do this or anybody else does it, costs are virtually the same. The ambulance costs what it costs. You know, the equipment costs what it costs. Payroll costs what it is. Nobody can do it cheaper than we can.
And here,
Because all of us are paying virtually the same amount, no matter who does it. Which is why the messaging that we give about the pricing shouldn't be a shock, because there's no alternative. They could buy their own ambulance for $200,000 or $300,000. They could staff their own ambulance 24/7 for, you know, $100,000 a year per truck for 2 votes or something. But they're not. But they're paying the same prices as we pay. They're paying into the same retirement system that we are. They're paying the same Social Security and Medicare. I mean, it isn't that this is more expensive. It's just that it's priced the way it should be. And, you know, look at the Keene budget. What's the Keene Fire Department
8
budget?
million.
8 million. And 80% of their stuff, they've got 3 ambulances running, and then they got a whole bunch of people.
2 ambulances running. Third one's staff.
One backup.
Third one is like ready to go. It's not running.
Oh, I've heard the EV out of that one.
They
That's
cross
always-
staff it. They cross staff it, Jack. So they'll pull crew off the ladder truck usually, because that's not a very highly used piece of equipment, and they'll pull that crew off to run their third call, and then call us for a code one.
City of Keene is running their EMS agency for the same amount as we are. At the end of the day, you subtract out the profit. You know, it's just expensive, and that's just the price. And I've always said, if they don't like the price, then find a different alternative, because you can. The city was paying $15,000 a month. One rescuing vehicle. Sometimes.
When does our contract with the city expire?
Here.
So 1 year.
January 2025.
Oh,
So-
I thought we started it, but
You know,
because I mean, right now, they're not paying anything. They were
No,
willing to,
we-
but they were willing to, and we're not.
Well, that's gotta
we need
change.
to-
so we gave them, yeah,
It's all in the works.
we've
Yeah.
given them a gift, $8,000 a month, $180,000 a year. If we weren't backing them up for free, they'd have a city budget be up $180,000. And we don't get
But more
anything out of it.
don't even talk about Keene really, because the bigger examples are, and I, you know, I'm not saying that this is a negative, but if you go back to, you had an ambulance service going here. They were being paid by towns like Troy and Fitzwilliam this amount of money. But then all of a sudden, Troy and Fitzwilliam chose to put hundreds of thousands of dollars into their budget to create the system they have now. But they weren't willing to bump up, or they didn't have to, because they weren't being asked to bump up more monies to the prior vendor, which could possibly save them and not put us in this situation.
Right.
And that's the frustrating part of it, is that it's not just about the city of Keene, it's about all these other communities out here. you know?
Right, I know the boards of selectmen always, every budget time, just like we do, they try to come as close to last year's figure.
Sure.
As we can.
Right.
It's like one of those items, so like an outside use.
And at some point, once we get to the right pricing, that will be true, and our costs of operating this department will be the same. Be subject to the living and human and stuff, and price of vehicles, which every single community on this earth faces every year. Okay, climb up that hill first, get to that point.
Yeah, and every year that we're in it, I believe we're going to better understand the billing portion of it that much better. I mean, we've seen some level of improvement this year compared to last year, just changing from the prior vendor to Emacs. So that's a positive step in the right direction. But you know, when I come to you in late August with what we think will be the best plan moving forward, you'll have an idea, and then we have to plan how we're going to, whether we hold a meeting here or whatever it may be, but it's gonna be pretty basic. It's gonna be a percentage and population for the towns. That's what it's gonna be. And they can see it, and then people can understand it, and we'll go from there. And the only thing that somebody will argue is probably, no, we don't have, you know, I know it says this, but we really have 874 people, not 932. Those are the only things that we're probably gonna, at the end of the day, argue about, because the reality is, then they'll understand it, and they'll have a choice to make. And it will still be in the ballpark that I think is workable for everybody involved. And they'll have until July of 2026 to get their house in order to do that.
So for me, we price it out that way. We estimate our revenue. Conservative, to the extent that insurance reimbursements exceed our expectation, that goes towards our capital. Equipment, vehicle, lease, placement, whatever. But I mean, we have to settle the communities, subscribers in.
And everybody else that is utilizing our services. Everybody, we have to look at revenue in every aspect of where we're utilizing it. We're doing a much better job now than we have been in the past, and I think that's only gonna get better too.
Keep in mind that I think it was. You know, that was paying the city of Keene $5,000 a year as backup, even though they never, ever used them. But they budgeted it, just in case. It was just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case Duluth wouldn't show up, they wanted $5,000. They gave the city $5,000 just in case.
How many years?
Well, they did it for several years.
So our 3-year period thing, so like giving a little sugar, be given.
But everybody was in the room. Everybody was in the room when a select board member from Swansea said, so in reality, what the county is giving us is 3 years to get ready for what the reality is, and that it's going to be a significant increase to the overall cost of what we're currently paying. And that's when they said we want to go with it, and we want to go with the county, because at least allows us to prepare for the future. And if anybody, we have that on tape, we have all that, but the bottom line is everybody's been forewarned. Now, select boards change. So, you know, we gotta get back in front of them and do this, and how we do that, we'll come up with a plan around that too, but they're going to have to understand that everybody is going to be asked to step up. Even if there's towns that aren't currently doing, you know, paying anything in, and we have this scale, you know, there's gonna be a readiness fee that has to occur.
Well, I think they, you know, judging by, you know, our meetings in Swansea and the Swansea Board of Selectmen's reaction to that, I think they understand that. They're cognizant that, you know, saving about $300,000 first year, but they knew that they were gonna have to swallow that pill.
Yeah, and I continue to think that politically that felt good for a few minutes, but it's the real problem. They should have known the price. They didn't need a smoothing period. Money is what it is. Great, we had all this federal money. Just obfuscates the actual cost of.
But And, but Jack, on some levels too, it's allowed us to tighten up our processes. Any
No,
project.
I understand.
So that's been the silver lining for us is we're coming in and we understand a lot better. Our relationships are gonna be that much stronger. Chad's done a great job of continually reaching out to the chiefs on a regular basis. You know, we're just gonna give them the reality check that they all know is there. You know, and they also know that, you know, that they're fighting that, you know, and it's something that when we go to them and talk to them about the financial end of it, we need to make sure they understand that on the state level, this is what we've done in the last year, fighting for not just them, but everybody.
Oh, when does the statute become effective that insurance companies pay us direct?
Within 90 days after.
Usually,
Governor signed it, right?
it's usually, well, they can do it as early as July. If that's the
They could have done
statute.
it 10 years ago. That would be,
I
you
just
know,
gotta
that would be.
look at the line.
That would be the next question. That
Must
should
have signed it in April, May.
Probably June.
No, because it didn't come out of the Senate.
Yeah.
And onto the governor, probably till this month.
Yeah,
It'll be September.
it doesn't have to be 90 days
Well,
though.
don't have to be, but usually generally.
Yeah,
That would be an EMAX. Be interesting to get a sense of
the direct billing. Which really affected maybe one or two insurance agencies that chose, and Anthem being the biggest. That they chose to send it to the individual and then the individual, I mean, they actually had accounts, people that were calling the regulars that were calling for an ambulance thing. They'd get the check, and they weren't sending it on and nobody was challenging that. So that was I mean,
it's basically theft of service.
but you know, if we could somehow convince our federal delegation that they need to work on a bipartisan level to ensure that emergency services, now it'll be a tough sell because the insurance agencies may think that they may be affected by this on some levels, and until we're only talking Medicaid and Medicaid, but they may feel like that next step is, are they gonna regulate what we have to pay too on, you know, but really it's Medicare and Medicaid. Medicaid is so, I mean, it's just so low. I mean, it's not low at the nursing home, but we get some level of reimbursement for that on some levels.
Well, now, the Medicaid rates doubled,
Yeah, I think they're supposed to go to the level of Medicare.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that's,
that could be some
I
of,
understand.
no, but that could be some of why we're starting to see our revenues increase.
so if the statute in New Hampshire that adjusted that rate, the regulation ties it to Medicare rate, and we have success starting a conversation, which we probably should start,
Yes, sir.
yesterday, that's federal law, recognizing the baby boomers, longer life, fewer nursing home beds available, fewer hospital beds, increase in EMS service. That to stabilize the EMS, the pre-hospital care services, we need to increase reimbursement.
Yeah.
This would be a way to start that conversation before the legislative cycle begins federally. And to begin to educate them and maybe have a dialogue. Maybe there's an opportunity to have with Annie. She won't be running again, but to get a sense of inside lane in terms of if the increase the Medicare rate, recognizing everything I just said about Democrats, blah, 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 and found a way to pay for it by reducing expenditures elsewhere. That would be a useful conversation to start, because, you know, if we can have some time to tee up some language, that would be helpful. And if New Hampshire's regulation tied it to the Medicare rate, then we would get.
So here's the thing. Next week, we have Senator Shaheen's in my office, and this is something. But we're also gonna be meeting with legislative leadership from NACO down in Tampa, into that they just passed bills federal side to really help support municipalities around staffing. EMS and costs and some funding. I got it downstairs, but we told them about the dispatch stuff.
Yeah.
And so they're like, this is the next frontier. You need to look, because this is the thing across, they wanted me to stop that. We can also introduce. We can also introduce this whole conversation about.
The other way to, yeah, that's a good point, because the other way to get at this is to use, short-term, 5-year federal funding program.
Yeah.
Right? To offset, provides pre-hospital care, mitigating funding without affecting Medicare. It's like some sort of supplemental stabilization money, but that would be something to brainstorm with them down there.
That's the talk, we have them for that period of time to talk about anything. So and they're looking, they jumped at it and they got back in touch with us. And we had a Zoom with them. And I said, can we follow up? So Kate has worked it, so she's scheduling, once they know their schedule down there, they're wanting to meet with us. It's two individuals.
It might, think about this, it might even be additional special federal funding through USDA for rural pre-hospital care. Because a lot of cities don't need it. It's their call volume.
Yeah.
Right, they're doing a lot better than most. So maybe there's a USDA. Politically, that takes it out of the Medicare. Makes it perhaps a little less contentious, slides it over to the side for some supplemental rural development.
So, Jack, the meeting, so let it go in your head a little bit. And then because I want to throw as many ideas in this period of time that we have with them.
Yeah.
So that we can really, advocate as best we can and start laying the groundwork, because they'll carry the legislative side of it. They'll start lobbying. They'll start working with certain senators and reps on both sides of the aisle to see if they can come up with something.
Yeah.
That's a bipartisan deal. And I'm telling you, people it's even with the level of angst on around where we are today. This is a win for officials to talk about what's right and to protect, that level of crisis when it hits. And, so we just have to lay it out.
Yeah, if we can find a way to fund it, not touching the third rail of Medicare. At least till after the president. And you can put it through a different pre-hospital care. It's not gonna attract the same amount of heat.
Yeah.
But it could end up in the same place, which is fine, I don't care what. Much more doable than just dumping dollars additional. Time when you have some Republicans that Medicare article. Well, they specifically say bomb. It's.
The day's coming.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that was Jack.
What they all say.
You may not make it.
Yep.
I'm gonna move on. Thank you, Chief.
I just want to say thank you all for your time this morning. I appreciate the help and guidance.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief, for all your work.
Oh, well, you know what, I just say, just quickly, two things, on this, I just forgot I wrote that down here. One is, you never experienced somebody choking before, I've seen my little kids start that. But they work through it. We were driving on Monday up to see James Taylor, and my wife was, I just put something in my mouth, she's driving. All of a sudden, she's like, and when they starts turning red, I grabbed the wheel and pulled it over, I was just about to get out and run around and take her out of the car and go start. And she was able to get it up, but it was like, she's like, and her throat has been off since that. Because I mean, that it was just that moment in time, but
That
it
is
just happened so quick and out of the blue.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. And the last thing I'll say is that, I had the opportunity to, as I always do, meet with the orientation, people this week, and we had, two new employees, down at the EMS, and they were, one was from across the river and the other one was from Swansea, and good, great candidates. And I always say, what brought you here? And they said, and, one person said, but really, it was about is everything you just said. I've heard from multiple people that I'm allowed to come over here and do my job. And that all the politics are set aside. And that, and I said, well, we try to keep that. And she said, that's what we hear, is that we know politics are always gonna be in it, but that, you know. But everything you said about, how I'm gonna get paid, I know I get good health care. So I can just focus on my job. Across the river. Rescuing.
Oh.
And so,
What do you mean, is that what that means?
she just, I don't know, but
Wow.
she's just like all these things, like, you know, she said, I've only heard great things from people. People that are currently work here, have worked here, so it was nice to hear. It was nice to, that's been our goal from day one, was to set up a system where people can just focus on doing the work they need to do. And we try to take care of all the other issues. So, and the other individual said that he had the opportunity to be on calls with our team, and he just likes the professionalism and the level of camaraderie that they have, you know, on the calls, and so he said, I really wanted to be part of it. So that's good. So I'm gonna move on. We've done all that. Do you have something, Cheryl?
Yeah, I do. I didn't have anything on the agenda, but I do have the audited financials that I just figured I'd give to you all and just so you can have for reading over the weekend. And if you don't want to keep them, you can always return them. There were a few management items that I will tell you about. One we received last year, and we're gonna continue to receive it. It's in regards to the WEX cards. Essentially, people make mistakes, they do typos, they, you know, transpose numbers, because basically what happens is when you go to the pumps on the WEX cards, these are the fuel cards that the different facilities have. You have to punch in your odometer information. And really the background of that is, you know, if somebody's not filling up a car that they should be, that's could be the key as to why they're not punching in the right odometer, because they're making stuff up. I would have to say probably 99% of the things that we see, you can tell somebody transposed the number. But, even though I argued to say, you know, when you got ambulance people out there in the middle of the night, I mean, people make mistakes, but they just said, it's not as if we're saying that, you know, this has any impact on the validity of your financials. We're just gonna point it out that we just see it as a weakness, and I'll just have to, you know, we have a policy, all the departments that use them are aware, all the department heads are required to review the WEX statements and make notations, go back to the staff to ask questions if there's anything, but I personally don't see anything that would rise to the level where I'd be concerned that it appears that somebody's fraudulently using a card.
What is WEX?
WEX is just basically the company that extends credit to allow for our ambulances, for our sheriff's vehicles, for the DOC vehicles, and for the nursing home vehicles to be able to go out to government rate fuel for their vehicles.
You might feel about the taxes.
Yeah. So, again, that was one. The payroll manifest, as you know, every week, you guys have to sign off on the payroll manifest. One of the ones that they tested didn't have the prerequisite number of signatures. And I mean, that, I will say,
Just 1 out of 3.
it,
Bob,
yeah, just without majority approval.
what are you picking on?
And I will say, not to make any excuses, but, in 2023, of course, Stacy wasn't here
Oh.
at all. We had somebody in the department that, was helping her on this end. And her mission was every time she got things back, she wanted to make sure to file it. She wasn't paying attention that
Yeah.
all the signatures were there, so there was one that slipped through. It's not what our practice is, of course, but they just pointed it out again, and then the last one was,
It's mine,
yeah, and I don't even know which one it was. It was just definitely, but,
Just try,
and,
just trying to push the blame over.
yeah.
No spotlight on me.
You'll be the last man standing.
Yeah.
Beginning today, you own it all.
Yeah, but that is something that even actually Davis is helping out with as well, is that we're making sure that, before these things even leave, that
Is
we're
that
looking
why-
to make
Is that why
sure.
she brought this up this morning?
Well, that was only because, yeah,
Oh, that
was late addition.
yeah, where, so
Well, listen, it's an exception.
it's an
It's
exception.
actually, it's actually good. That it's only an exception. We have an explanation. And it's actually good that the auditors actually noticed it,
Yeah, because they realize it is
because, you know,
a process of, and they make sure, I mean, granted,
so-
it's really more statutorily required because it is.
Yeah.
But then again, what they do is they make sure that we follow our process.
So it has to have all three?
No, majority.
it says-
Just the majority, because I was gonna say, you know, we go on vacation and things like that.
Yes, yes, so that's why, and every once in a great while, and it, like I said, I feel like I can tell how it happened, because there was actually some that we had to bring back to you for signatures and whatnot. This person just was she was more concentrating on, oh, I need to make sure it gets filed away so that it doesn't get lost, not concentrating, and that could even have been us not relaying. And then the last thing is not that it was, we adjusted on this end, but when they were doing the insurance fund, we get rebates for RX benefits.
Oh, yes.
And when they were being put into our accounting system by the person that tracks and reconciles the insurance fund, not that it has any bearing on the reconciliation, she was netting the rebates against the claims. And as you know, we need to gross revenue and expense. So it was just something that they found that the process wasn't being handled appropriately. And now it is.
Right.
The reading probably the MD&A, which is the first part of me kind of analyzing the whole financials, are a good area to start on, because it talks about our fund balance, you know, our levels and percentages against the general fund. We're like in the 20%, but with the 5 million that we allocated to offset the 2024 budget, it brings us right into the 18% range. So our fund balance is very healthy. Our net assets, our net position continues to grow, and a lot of it's because our liabilities are decreasing. And think about it, I mean, our fund balance, even for the insurance fund, is still very healthy there. However, we should expect a pretty concerning renewal for 2025. We've got hit really hard with large claims, really hard. And so there's no doubt that the stop loss carrier is going to come back. That we're gonna have struggles getting a decent stop loss insurance, and just our claims projection are gonna go up based on what we've been experiencing. Hopefully, some of them.
So the claims, health issues or injuries.
Claims are
Either.
health area. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be due to injury.
Yeah.
But look, at the end of the day, though, for what, over 15 years, had single-digit increases. Unheard of. Yeah, in the commercial setting. Fundamentally, it's double-digit increases every year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, yes. I mean, but we've been able to still keep it relatively low from the perspective
Yeah.
of the employees.
Yeah.
And again, we do have a decent fund balance, but we don't want to tap into it. It's interesting. You said that when you met with the union from Westmoreland, the main person along with the president, the president asked a question, which now I kick myself for not being there. She said, are we gonna see what is like another significant insurance
And I made
premium
sure she
increase?
understood that,
I
well,
mean,
there's like that there's so much that goes into that, but the thing I can tell you is the county's always tried to do right by the employees we have within the reality of the fiscal reality that we face from these increases, but it really is based on a lot of numbers that we have no control over whatsoever, that is claims.
Mm.
And we go from there.
I mean, and in addition, though, we haven't had any large increases
No.
that we've passed on to the
No.
employees, so that's kind of concerning that I feel like we only had like a 2.5% or 3% increase, and I'm thinking, and you think that's large?
You asked her to compare that against.
And
I-
I also said that the percentage that we give compared to what the norm is, where we're paying, 80, 6% of the overall cost is not the norm in this day and age. So I'm not gonna continue to go down this road because then I'm starting to talk negotiations and all that, going to
Right, right.
non-meeting, but the bottom line is, it was important for me not to let that go unanswered, so I felt like I had to say, no, wait.
Yeah, I just
That's
was
just not the case.
quite
Aren't-
surprised that she
aren't-
felt
I mean,
like
I
a large
know-
increase.
I know that my wife has a healthcare plan from the school systems. And when we compared the two, we felt we had a better bang for what we were getting from our program. And so we're doing well by the employees we have.
Aren't self-funded programs like ours more apt to have costs that are closer to what it actually costs?
Yes.
Than other
Than
types,
just being
than other
pulled
types
together, yeah,
that,
Mhm.
and that's where you get your 19%
Yeah.
increases. And
Yeah.
I remember when I was working, having to do that, it was like,
yeah,
Holy
it's just like a
cow.
whipsaw. That's why I was really surprised
I-
that, and I almost feel like going back to Jen and saying, I'm not quite understanding why the perception is that we're having large increases in our premiums.
But I think we can do that, but I think we do that in a way of saying, out of the first initial conversation we had, I know there was a question mark. When it's time for the healthcare portion of it, and that you can do exactly that.
Yeah, and
But I also think it shows that there's just this perception, because society always hears about it too. You hear from other places, so we just need to make sure that they understand that we have done, the commissioners, the delegation, all of us have done a great job of respecting that as best we could within
Yeah,
this
yeah.
reality.
At the end of the day, it's in our playbook of Quest has to have every union
Yeah,
agreement, because probably 90% of the union entities that they municipalities that are using commercial transportation. So they're used to double-digit increases. They're used to, all of that stuff. We're just different.
Mhm. And that's why I'll plan to have a history of our increases, because they've been, I can't even remember the last time we've even had something as high as 5%. So it's,
almost
there's
like.
people that have up to 20% increase, 22% increase.
and a lot of it's because, I mean, we take the brunt of it. A 4% increase on $4 million is a lot more than a 4% increase on the premiums that they're participating. So,
In these last couple of years, we've not had any increase of bad diagnoses.
and I'll say it publicly because she's been very public about it. The person from my office, I mean, she had a bone marrow transplant. She's,
That's.
that was, yeah, but
Well,
we-
but the reality is that I think the biggest issue that we face is that we've done a really great job of trying to balance not just healthcare, but the budget as a whole. I mean, Representative Eaton said that he had a conversation with the Sullivan rep, who said to them that the initial budget that was presented from, and I guess they do it a little differently, so county is what I was told from the, I mean, the county administrator, I think it's a manager up there, it was a 25% increase. The taxes to be raised. They were able to get it down to, the commissioners were able to get it down to 15%. Delegation got it down to a 10% increase. This is coming off years where I've been told it's a 9 or 8% increases along with that. And so, you know, we work extremely hard. Not to say they don't work extremely hard, but we work extremely hard. We've been fortunate to be able to have some revenues that have increased on certain things that are long-term revenues that we recognize. We also held back for years and years and years on ProShare, not putting it in play on the levels that it is. So we will have increases.
Yeah.
I will fight tooth and nail to never have an increase on the level of that unless I'm bonding for some major project like the nursing home or the corrections facility. But we will have increases on some levels. That's just reality. But we've been able to, over the last few years, coming out of COVID, really respect that and understand the fight we are in. But we just need to be able to tell that story. And that's one of the reasons we started to tell the story last year.
And I mean, if the employees really think about it, I mean, really, because we're self-funded, we're supporting our own fellow coworkers, fellow families and whatnot. I mean, there are some that are hopefully one-time hits, such as the person from my department that, oh, you know, hopefully it won't come back. But we also have some people, those infusion therapies, there's people that on the lifetime of them being with us could probably end up having millions and millions and millions of dollars claims paid on their behalf because they're just their, guess what, their immune system, whatever it is about them that they have to have, they don't miss any time because it's just part of their normal monthly living that they have to have these, but they're the ones that will always be on the radar of the stop loss because as long as they're employed, they know that they're gonna get hit with these claims.
And not to get political, but I guess, you know, or you left the fox in the hen house, or you deregulate, the more you say, you allow, you know, we're going to be faced with higher costs. People need to understand it because K Street, which is all the lobbies, are going to start being able to have avenues to be able to get what they need to get, not to say that they're not today. We started at the State House this year, where Anthem was able to come in and bully its way to where they needed to be to get what they wanted to keep the status quo for the most part. They gave a few things, you know, but the biggest one, the 325% increase that Senator, what is it, Preston, wanted was put on hold. And that 325 probably should be about 750%. So for insurance increases for private insurance. So. Yeah.
Which takes it from too little to.
Yeah. Hey, when we're getting reports that in certain circumstances and paying less than Medicaid with the increases that have occurred, that's wrong. That's wrong. And so at some point, the state needs to, you know, let the, you know, start doing right by the citizens, not by the lobbyists that pay for their reelection.
And Anthem and the other commercial insurers still get to keep 20% of every premium dollar they take in as from. They have to spend 80% on services to their. There's no data. Get to keep 20% as from.
Yes.
Just the way it is.
It's like Eversource going to the PUC and saying they need a 17% increase. And you look at their shareholders in growth over the last few years. Isn't bad at all. You know, it's the thing that drives me nuts the most, that everybody keeps saying, you know, look at inflation, look at Biden, look at this, all that other stuff. And it's like, no, let's focus where it is. It's corporate greed. And corporate greed unchecked gets us in these positions where we are today. It's not to say capitalism isn't something that is the town, one of our, is important on some level, but unchecked, it just gets corrupt, and that's why we're paying more much for one. And it's small. And the Big Mac is a mini Mac. Plus Russian dressing. All right, next up would be.
I wouldn't know either of those.
I haven't had a Big Mac in years.
They did. take-
Chip Ahoy.
Yeah,
Chip
I
Ahoy.
drove the other day.
Somebody showed me it, and like,
the
no,
Chip Ahoy?
that's not a Big Mac. That's not a Big Mac. And, then we'll have to order a cheeseburger because we're traveling. Sometimes you pull into fast food to get something and keep on traveling. Never again. All right,
Subway's the best.
See, what contents.
yeah, you think? It looks like, they take off all these layers, but it's like they've sliced it so many times, it's so thin, it's like.
Moving on.
All right, moving on my report. Terry, do you want to talk a little bit about the press release? We have the press release right here. If you want to have these guys just see what you're sending out, we'll send it out today.
Okay. Yeah, well,
And then see.
we voted to, we voted to put an adder, 30% adder onto our electric rate. The new rates just came out. And Cheryl, I'm glad you're still here because, we have to think about, creating some sort of a revolving fund, that isn't too restrictive. We can use, go down the line. Okay. The 30% is going to be taken out of everybody's bill, our bill and everybody else's bill. They're gonna be distributed into accounts, according to, what membership it is, what town it is, et cetera, like that. And it's gonna be held by CPC and H for now. Somewhere down the road, because this goes 6-month periods. That, somewhere down the road, we have to consider, taking in a monthly, quarterly payment from CPC and H as they collect money into some sort of a revolving fund. People from Peterborough looked into this and they've discovered that the RSA 3194 that deals with revolving funds.
Districts.
Yeah, he's suggesting that there needs to be legislation to clarify that.
What is it, RSA 31 what?
3194-H. Because the IRS has certain restrictions on things when you start spending money on projects, if they're too restricted. Right now, it isn't restrictive at all, other than you have to use this money on a energy related project of some sort. And technically, CPC and H policy and bylaws, they don't even require that. And so far, state law doesn't either. So, I mean, Board of Selectmen could, and then say, oh, hey, what's that line item? Oh, geez, you got $10,000. Hey, let's use it for build a road. They could probably do that if they wanted to. But we have to start thinking about creating some sort of a line item budget policy fund, trust, something like that, because that's what Peterborough is going to do. Is they
So Cheshire County, you're looking to eventually being able to accept funds that we hold on to on behalf for what future?
energy projects.
So in other words, like a reserve,
Yeah, it's a discretionary reserve result.
but it's not our money. So we're a fiduciary
Yeah.
because it's not our money.
Right.
It's,
Terry, is it just for clarity purposes? So it's $100 and some odd $1,000.
$186,000.
$186,000 a year, of which ours is what, 13, 14,000?
something like that, yeah.
So are you asking that we take all 186 and put it into account? And then when a town asks for it, then we send them
Well,
that portion?
That's,
Or that we just send them the portion and we hold on to the 14?
no, right now, CPC and H has that, we'll have that 186,000 under, because we're the member,
Right,
under our name. But on the Excel sheet, it'll also have little subcategories for the 9 towns. And breaks it down according to what their load or their contribution is, so that it'll all be it'll be accounted for. But the $186,000 has to go under Cheshire because we're the member. We're the one that the PUC is licensed to do this. Okay, so we will have to take that, the whole thing, and break it down per town. So that when the Board of Selectmen of Roxbury, for example, say, well, I wanna do this, they would send in a request to us, and we release the funds to them. Until this law is changed to suit what CPC and H is doing. You know, but that won't have to be done until at least January. That's why I'm just bringing it up now. Because right now, CPC and H is gonna hold on to it. There's only 4 towns that are doing it, well, Cheshire County and 3 other towns that are doing the discretionary. So in January, that it'll end and we will have to revisit it and decide whether or not we're gonna continue with it or whatever. The new rates will determine.
it was interesting because the county, some of the towns didn't understand really what they could, they thought it was gonna be a major project that we all would pitch in on, and then when they.
Could be.
When they heard, wait a second, I think it was Gilson actually, that said, wait, does that mean we could put solar on our streetlights? And we were like, yeah, you can put, or heat pumps in our library that is their meeting place or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's whatever you choose to do that helps negate energy.
So can I just understand what this earlier? So right now, CPC and H holds the money, they break it out.
Yeah, they collect all the bills anyway, you know, and so they will divert, a third of a cent of, according to what everybody's load is, into an account, a reserve account, discretionary reserve account for Cheshire County.
And that's the money that.
Eventually, they want
that
us to hold.
eventually Show track.
Right.
With a total, and then the attributions to the various towns.
Yes.
In their respective contributions.
Yes.
Could we,
So, just in the general thing, why on earth would any community do anything but buy their power Cheshire County? I mean, why would somebody contract to pay 11.1 cents? We're at 8.6.
But because they have to, you're talking about key law, Wisconsin. They have to because it's a 30-month contract.
remember, they were eager to get this resolved. And it took us longer to get up and running because we had to change legislation.
Yeah.
To be able to be a county to get to this point, but
He
once
wanted
we're
to
there.
He wanted to be first.
And it's whatever it may be, they're locked into a certain price. I mean, even Sullivan County is looking at seeing if they can, start this power talk conversation up there because they're seeing the benefits of it. So it would be, right now, it's Merrimack and Coas County along with Cheshire County,
So,
and Sullivan could be the next.
so Keene was the first one to cross the finish line as a prize. They get to pay more in electrical rates than anybody else.
Yeah.
No, that's
Well, that's hindsight, I mean, that's,
At the time, the rates were 17, 18 cents, and they.
well, what happened? I was on the Keene Energy Committee at the time, and we were working on community power. It was all brand new. But we were looking at the CPC and H model, coalition model. And then George decided that, no, we're gonna go the standard power model, which is the for-profit, third-party model. And so it sort of just changed tracks.
Oh, so they, again, they got the
Because,
benefit of.
because the legislation was not in place for PPCNH to start yet, especially the county. And the third-party people were already up and running. Because they've been doing it for 25 years. So they did that and they signed a 30-month contract, so they're bound by that until December of 25. December, yeah, next year.
Wow,
Another year.
good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a win and it's, yeah, it's different, so.
I'm going to forward you this email.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Yep.
From Peterborough and our man Bruce at CPCNH. I forget. I'll wait till I get home. I know how to do it here. Yeah, okay, so you approved this, Davis.
Yes, yeah, I took a look, it looks great.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so we've already given them 2 press releases. Hold on to this one.
Should be send this one out.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, I think it's good. I think we'll hit them with it, and then they've got Philip for their favor.
I always
And-
follow up if it takes
Yeah.
too long.
Well, I also think, just. Can we add something in there? Which Cheshire County is a member?
Charter member.
But no, but we're the first county in the state of New Hampshire. It doesn't say that. We led the way.
Yeah, we said it last time, but.
I wanna say it again. I wanna say it every single time.
Beat him over the head.
Well, okay, for a new style, that, the inverted pyramid, that fact really should go towards the end. And back here, when we're talking about community power authorized by, those sort of background notes, you might want to put, that sentence. That
Yeah.
Cheshire County was the first county, blah, 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 blah.
Can you, Cheshire County joins, 60 other, but it will also be, it's also known as the first county to, or something like that.
Yeah.
So in the dedication, which is,
Change the dedication a little bit this year so that we're dedicating the efficiencies of government is community power.
and I reference, the law that was changed
Mhm.
in 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
There, I'll double check. Do you want that in the press release to? highlight
Sure,
kind of
yeah.
advocacy?
You don't muddy the lead though.
I will not. I'll put it at the
Keep that
end.
down, yeah, keep that down.
I'll put it here
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the italicized paragraphs.
Yeah.
Great. I'll just put it with here, just saying that the county advocated for this change.
Yeah, and when you send it, bonds out.
First, advocated for blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So so the 3195, are you saying? And that what we're trying to do is get the legislation to allow for counties to do this? Because right now 3195H does not apply to counties. It only applies to towns, cities, village districts and unincorporated.
I'm going to forward this information, this email here to you.
About
And
what needs
I
to be
would
changed.
suggest that you get in touch with Mark or Bruce. Because they're really the gurus
Okay.
on this. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else on the community power aspect of it?
No,
Okay. Had a opportunity to meet with, individuals from, the kitchen. And it was fairly, and so they have seen an increase, significant increase in their food and out, like this past week. Normal food, boxes go out, it's about 400 in a week. They gave out 1,000. And a lot of that has to do with, they think, because of the, it's like they're coming in to get 2 boxes. So they don't know, so, but they still think it's an increase of about, because they're getting it out early this week because of the holiday. And so they don't know if that was, but they said today, there's at least a 200 to 250 increase they've seen over the last few months. And a lot of it, they say is because people just can't afford right now. And so I said to them, you need to put the data together. August is coming around the corner. And they said the other thing is that their pop-up is working. But they just, it's just a cost, there's a cost to it. That's when they go into towns, because there's a lot of isolation, because we don't have the transportation. So people that normally don't get to the community kitchen, and at the same time, they're partnering with all the other pantries in those towns, but those pantries aren't able to get the level of service that either, and they're struggling with staffing, and so there's a real food insecurity crisis going on with the level.
It's that there's more individuals coming in to receive food, but the individuals that are coming in are taking more.
This was, they felt, because it was actually last week, and they're off this coming week because of the 4th of July, they used to do the box thing, so they did a 2-week hit. So they felt like they're giving out more, so, but they still feel like there's about a 200 to 250 increase over the last few months. They're seeing the people coming through the door, they're giving out
More people.
more people coming through, so they're giving out more boxes. I said, again, August is coming around the corner, you know, you need to just put your data together. And,
Oh, because then they're going to.
right, I just said that in 3 hours, but I'm just giving you a heads up, that's the.
So do they give away food in Auburn?
They probably work with the pantry there, they do pop-ups all over, so I don't want to speak of it, but they were really seeing an increase in interest. It's what they brought up.
When I was on the, they work with as far as smalls. All of the little mini pantries aren't a lot of them aren't really very well stocked or staffed.
Sure.
Sarah, actually, when she came on board, she was.
And we gave them about $40,000 at the time, out of American Rescue Plan funding, along with 20,000 prior to that. 20,000 went towards some needed refrigeration costs, upgrading some refrigeration they had, and then 40,000 went towards the pop-up, portion of it, so.
So pop up the van that into start.
I think they have a bigger truck actually, that they have, and then they take out the boxes, the areas. And they're also I think, doing the school lunch, you know, that they do for kids, they do it in the public library. And I think there used to be a second site, but they don't have enough staffing for the second site, so it's pretty much going through.
Do they track people by how?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Age or something. If they ask that,
Leave age, but definitely,
I don't think they can.
that came out of the city years ago. I mean, when I was, MSFI, he said, you know, can you give us more data? It was Mindy at the time. We need more data. We need to know if you're from Dublin, if you're serving people from Dublin, wherever you're serving. So because remember, they have the hot meals too. And they've seen an increase in the hot meals too, but it's really the boxes that they're seeing and people that are coming in and driving the box.
I don't think they can do, like, they can't say how old. But they can, you know, single mothers with children, seniors,
Yeah, I'm
you
not.
know, in categories like that.
what information, I walk in with. Say. Hospital,
You gotta, yeah, you just sign in.
so
You sign in. There's my name. This is the town that I live.
it's just a
There
general.
may be, maybe there may be other questions on it that have changed over time that would do.
Yeah.
Sarah, for
I just, and the other, where I'm going with this is the Hemingway. But the Hemingway. It's age
Yeah.
restricted. In terms of elderly.
No.
farms.
No,
not.
it's also.
No, we used
Okay.
it this year. It's the
Yeah.
children program, right? It said,
We've used it. for
Cheryl
100
actually looked it up and it said
Okay.
children in it.
Okay. Because we've used it 100 nights.
Yeah. We use it in many different ways.
Just. But just make sure. that Didn't wind up in Malvern.
Which I can take you to.
Yeah, sure. Same as. Yes, I guess.
So I just want to make you aware of that. Just an update, I know I probably talked about this last week, but I'm gonna talk about some partially. Again, because Jack wasn't here, I want to get you up to speed where things are at today. So, you know, we were informed that the Homeland Security Director has submitted our request for funding for Southwest Fire Mutual Aid upgrades for the infrastructure in our communities to ensure that radio frequency can occur between, well, we've done it on the sheriff's side, so now it's on the fire mutual aid side, fire EMS. So he sent it on to the governor. Once we heard that, we sent a letter off to the governor. Especially when the 911 situation occurred in Massachusetts, which was human error. We know we have shut it down 911 in the state of Massachusetts for how many hours? Which is scary in itself. We know, we hinted at this, we know we have a crisis that won't be able to fix because it's not human error. It's in the life of equipment. So we're hoping that gives us an opportunity. So that's one.
Is there any sense of the governor's? Piece of the legislation.
Well, I mean, we don't know, so we also sent it on Chase Hackman, who Chase has been our friend, was the deputy director of Clover, helped us bring a chunk of growth back to our communities, so he called me off, just out of the blue, and I gave him out, we sent him all the materials that we sent the Homeland Security Director, so he has all that information. We sent him the letter that we, sent to the governor last week. He's gonna be part of that committee looking at the number. Again, in the paper, it said anywhere between $5 to $10 million left over. We're hearing it's closer to 20 million. And somebody has said it could be even higher than that. And so I've got to believe they're not telling us what the timeline is. But they know that they have to get it out to organizations so that the organizations can then say it's gonna be spent this way, and then we have until 2026 to get that work done.
What's the total of the mutual aid project?
1.3 on the Vermont side and 4.8 on the New Hampshire side.
And
The mutual aid.
radius.
Yeah, in the infrastructure, yeah. Yeah, well, ours was 4.4 million, we're find a way to make that happen.
That's a lot of area though. It's not just us.
If we don't do this, and I think people need to understand this. If we don't do this, towns are looking at anywhere between a 300 to 400% increase of what they're currently paying. Some towns that are paying like, 60, 70,000, all of a sudden they're like at $600,000. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy what they also have to shoot up to.
All the more reason why we need to. Pretty much.
Yeah.
They get the second bill.
Yeah.
Mutual aid.
Yeah. So, what we're trying to do is try to come up with plans. I talked with Joe this week, chief over at Southwest Fire Mutual Aid. I told him, this is where we're at. We also are, I said that, we're working on a second meeting with Buxton and to really address his team being on the same page. I mean, the Homeland Security Director understands the vision and loves what we're doing and loves that the county's involved at the level it is. But his people keep running it, and the lower end people here are like, yes, what can we do? What can we do? But then they bring it up to their bosses here, and they're like, can't do that, because they haven't been brought part of the conversation. Buxton has been very apologetic to us. It's embarrassed that it's, again, slowed down in that process. So he wants to, he's hoping, he's having meetings with his people, because we still feel like we need to continue to line our ducks up as best we can. And the next one would be that we need to go back to the fact that we have our own mitigation plan for the county, so that we have an emergency management director, and that we are able to go after the brick grant to get any other monies that we need there. And then on top of that, going to NACO and talking with those people to see if we can get some movement there. And at the same time, continuing with our federal delegation to have conversations about having to come up with a plan on this, because again, bipartisan, your community is suffering, your individual is gonna have to carry the burden of this, in whatever town you live, you could be in Kansas, I don't care. You know, your equipment's outdated, you need to come up with a plan around that, and are you gonna burden your taxpayers, are you gonna come up with a plan that spreads the pain across America, and we are able to apply for a certain amount of money to help offset those costs? It's not brain surgery, it's just, can we get people to listen and understand the urgency to this? So, that's where we're at. DEI had its second meeting, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, great second meeting. What's interesting is that we have leaders that came out of the first meeting that said they wanted to take the initiative, because I don't want to lead this, I don't think I should lead it, I think it could be, let the group evolve and really move forward. And, came 3 individuals who stepped up. They're not departments, it's just individuals that feel it's important to them. And they love the fact that the county's actually taking this initiative. I did reach out to my counterpart to see, because I always will steal if anybody else has it, as a committee like this. And I've talked to others that it's more policy driven, so they're pulled in on occasion to look at policies, which in reality may be part mission, but I think it's a broader conversation that we're trying to have. So, the individual led the discussion, it was thoughtful, we had about 20 people in the room. And at the end of the day, came away with some takeaways on how to move forward. We're working towards a vision statement, which may evolve into a mission statement for DEI, not the county, initially, but for the committee itself. And then over time, to see if there's something that we want to adopt here. And it's good. We have homework, they gave us homework to work on, some readings to do, that they had all printed out, ready to go. And we had chocolate chip cookies, and other type of cookies, which were made by, Sarah. Hoskins out of the county attorney's office, and, I think at the end of the day, I mean, you guys were in the room, you can comment too, I think it was a healthy conversation.
Very, and we were paired into groups of people that didn't really know each other too well. So I thought it was really good, and so far, people are very open, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah,
You don't see that in these spaces all the time.
There's a habit, you know,
Is the younger group?
yeah,
Actually,
yeah, it is, but there's also habits, some people, to start thinking about outcomes. You know, get to Z, and try not to say anything until I feel like, and then I just remind people, we may get to Z at some point. I hope we get to Z at some point, but where's all the other outfit? Let's focus on having this conversation, trying to figure out how we want to utilize this group moving forward. And I said, we've got multiple meetings before we really start to really have a identifying purpose. You know, let's figure out how to get there first. And I think they appreciate that. So, that's one thing. Handyman, I met with, Jessica White, thank you.
Mhm.
Some reason I had blood in there.
Oh, yeah. You'll
Just
see.
blood. The, and she is the overseer. She does the initial intake for the New Hampshire Care Collaborative, which is Service Link is up with the new name for Service Link, if I don't know. And
Who decided to change the name?
they felt like they were, because it was Nanac Care Collaborative, that because now they're statewide, they felt like they had to change. Missed the initial meeting, but I came in on the
That
seventh.
was why we came up with service.
Yeah.
Because there was something else before.
Yeah,
They changed the name to the whole thing's different.
yeah. And
Some
so,
of it.
so but they do the intake, as you know, and the problem has been its level, it's not what community service does food and weatherization construction. Well, the problem is that the construction teams have their own private business too, so they don't have, our whole thing has been, if Southwest Community Service can do this, and they can in vetted in their insurance, if they're all approved by one group, that's good. So we met and decided that what we're going to do is allow other construction companies to come in, go through the same standards that the somewhat make certain people go through, and if they meet those standards, then they can contract out too, with the expectation of what we want for the services that we're asking. So that should help, because we have 3 projects on hold. Well, not on hold, they're in the chute, they're ready to go, and one of them is supposed to start in the coming weeks, but the other 2, we could get to it faster if we have more companies to choose to. That's a good thing. And then as you know, we have the awards that will be going down and being present for.
And when do we get to know our travel? We get travel documents.
Oh, I can send them to you. Yeah, I have all of them. Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I gotta tell my cousin where to meet me, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I should have gone directly to your email.
Well, I did get something from you, did,
Well, no, an earlier email, but I'll send everyone their
Because I
itineraries.
don't know.
okay, so we gotta go online and if we wanna do any of those activities,
You don't have to sign up for individual activities.
oh, so we're already signed up. for
Yeah,
that.
you already signed up for the conference. So you
You
can go
can
to what you want to.
And we can get
Oh,
you the packet, we can send you the packet.
Yeah, that's the link I sent you.
Oh, okay,
It prints.
Yeah.
Like, what's that?
The switch,
The one for Tampa.
I don't know.
You had said no, you said no because you had some things going on.
When is it again?
12, the 12,
Next week.
next week. Yeah, that's what you had said.
Right, so I don't have any plans.
Yeah, I'll send you.
Like,
Send you everything.
yeah,
Well, you know when the flight is.
are we gonna let,
No, I'm just saying, it's at 6 a.m., just joking. So I'll send you all the.
we're gonna like leave from here? Or just get there by ourselves? Chester Airport,
I'm a Henniker resident.
More
so
than
you
willing
guys-
if somebody wants to, actually, I was thinking about going to my sister's house the night before, who lives in Merrimack, just driving
alright,
10 minutes down the road.
I might be coming
We got
soon.
it. I'm goddamn like 3 o'clock in the morning.
6
Well,
a.m.
6,
well, that means we gotta get there,
yeah,
Get there an hour.
4 or 5.
Do you have to park?
yeah.
Cause you may
There's
find
pretty
that
much
you could
a-
get a hotel and parking for the same
Yeah.
price as parking. Get-
Well, isn't parking at Manchester
Well,
free?
you gotta pay.
No, it's like.
$17.
Yeah.
It's $17
Yeah,
a
nobody
day,
does
which
anything
is
for-
half the price of what Boston is.
Yeah. Yeah, we always go to pre-flight. They've gotten up there, it used to be like $100 a week.
That's why, you're not gonna come with me.
Seaplane? The best deal,
Place at Chelsea, big huge parking lot. But just out, they have a shuttle bus line. They have a shuttle.
Well, send some stuff.
Yeah, let's get it up there and make sure you all are all set. Then we'll get down there and figure it out from there. Um, um, the only other thing I think I have is, last week I talked to you, and on the 17th, the meeting on the 17th, I have all if we're going to fund it, we're on fund any opiate, this year, any groups that are serving the populations for opiate, or substance abuse, like we have in the past. I'd like to have that, done on that meeting. And then anything that I'm gonna bring to the executive committee on pro-share funding, I'll have at that meeting too, for you guys to pass on. Last week, I told you the things that I'm considering. I'll have to document ahead of time for that, so that you guys those things and choose people.
Hopefully the award money, we gotta spend it.
That's why I reached out to Bill Wyzek, and he's come back with some thoughts on. I think that, it's collaborative, came up with some, have a lot of grandparents that are. This would help the ripple effect of that, and so I think there's a lot of opportunity for us. Consistent with what we did in the past, and also add it a little bit to it at the same time, so we'll have documents for that too. But one of the ones I brought, in the side note, is that yes, I get the numbers back next week, and some of the numbers I told you last week are less. That's a good thing for some of the work that needs to be done, so that's a good thing. I mean, a lot less, so. Get better. But one of the things I did talk to you about is, we were approached by the King Sentinel, and they're celebrating their 250th birthday. And that and they wanted to know if they wanted two levels. They wanted to know if we could use they could use our park, not just park. Some type of thing down in that area. And so then there's in one area, but in our area, they'd like to utilize the first stage music, and also to have a beer tent there. That said,
Latches.
and the last.
Is that during the
Because
weekend?
it's not too far from Sentinel. I think they're gonna close off the street right by the Sentinel. Then they're gonna have that other parking lot that's gonna have vendors in it and stuff, so they're just looking for space to utilize all that. And, no, that would just be like a 1 day type thing, and they'd have to carry all the insurance.
Is it on the weekend though?
Yeah,
Yeah. Just go in on that.
Make sure people that we rent park.
we would make sure that they would actually, we would assign them a different parking space, which would be up at the, street parking. The administrative building. It's on a weekend, nobody's parking.
It's no problem. I've
You
been
mean West
communication with all of them. They won't have.
West Street,
They
that's
won't
what, West Street Park.
Winchester
Yeah,
Street
there's
parking?
only.
Winter, oh,
But,
I don't know.
but,
Which business?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've actually worked.
well. So,
But yeah,
we understand that because.
I just don't wanna hear about
They're just not, there's just, no, the reality is that they knew, we made it very clear to them that there may be opportunities. Where, in the past, people have utilized that space. But we always said, but you'll make sure that you have spaces at one of our two parking lots. That's all. It means you just have to walk a little bit farther, but it's 2 times out of the year
Right.
for the price they're paying. I think it's a good thing.
No idea how much.
And if they don't like it, then they don't need to park it.
so they wanna have a beer tent on our parking lot?
Yeah, we've had a beer tent on our parking lot before. On this parking lot though. So. But they just have to carry this, it's no different than having alcohol up here. They just have to carry the same insurance. And say have the same type of state liquor license, whatever they need.
You need something, city too.
No, they won't,
They have to do all the. license.
they have to do it. The city, the Sentinel has to do it, they got us. Just have to give the commissioners have to give approval. So going back to it, it is, August. No, it's September,
We have to be a co-insurer, right?
September 7th, Saturday, September.
This year.
Yeah, it's a day-long celebration, opening ceremonies, keynote speakers, downtown sidewalk live, live music throughout the day on, from 2 stages. Special restaurant events, special bar and brewery events, food trucks, antique classic cars, truck shows, community histories, art fair, celebrity softball, fireworks display. So, and if we were to be
Who's
the,
the celebrities?
huh?
Who are the celebrities?
George Hanson.
That's what I'm wondering, is if it's just local celebrities or if it's,
I won't say that I've been at, but
so in other words, it's not local celebrities.
Now you gotta
real
put on your
celebrities.
cape. Put on your
Happy
cape.
United.
That was pushing it.
So if you're a sponsor, depending on what levels, you get recognition of support by the president of the Sentinel, Central Square exhibit booth, fireworks, softball game sponsorship, branded swag giveaway, community opportunity, or full page color ad and commemorative edition, logo on front page of commemorative edition, 80,000 impressions on teensentinel.com, co-brand logo inclusion on all print event marketing, co-brand logo inclusion on all digital advertising, co-brand logo inclusion on all site event signage. And my thing is that, they do cover Cheshire County. I mean, that's what the paper does, and whether it's their circulation
Well, I see.
online or on paper. I don't think it hurts us, and I talked to Dan about it too to see if and he's like, no, that's great if you could, so. And so the problem is if I.
Yeah, I don't think you said what you wanted about the dollar amount with the
No,
sponsorship.
so,
is.
yeah, so I wanted, so.
Taxpayer dollars.
We have to get into a parking lot and money?
Yes. So my thing would be, they want us to be a sponsor, so this, I think this, we are trying to tell our story, we are trying to, get out there to the community. I think this helps us in a lot of ways, and I think we should be supporting that on some level, so,
So you think this is Greece?
So so my thinking is that we have the funds to be able to do this. Currently, we don't have to utilize brochure, looking at it last week. Problem is, if I go through the process, the executive committee and all that, I won't have time to turn around to be the sponsor because they need the
How much
sponsor.
is it?
$5,000. Yeah. So I
We get a discount on future printing?
can't say what I've been told. Sorry.
Come on. I was in that business for 30 years. It's a pretty cool quality.
But I think for us to be
I
able
haven't
to
seen our press release.
Yeah, really?
we will get all those. But I do think that we have the monies, we have purpose set aside that I was gonna utilize for another purpose that Cheryl made me aware of yesterday when I talked to her about this. And that is, we have monies that we want to utilize for, fire, for Rod. We didn't end up utilizing any of it, and it was $5,000. And I don't see this any different than us advertising, like we do advertising. Yeah, because we can create what we want to say in the logo, on the full page ad. We do this all the time through both the Sentinel and the radio station by putting ads out there. We can market ourselves for staffing, and this just shows us, shows what we're trying to do. So I don't see it as anything more than just advertising, counting when at a time when we still need workers. And we spend a chunk of change every year on this.
really quick with press releases.
The NACO ones?
Yeah, those went out.
Yeah.
Actually, they haven't,
Anything?
Yeah,
only on, My Key News, or My Key Now, which is a new extension of WKBK broadcast. But
Okay.
yeah, we sent it to a lot of sources and it's on our Facebook as well.
Well, speaking of that, I couldn't find it, our Facebook page.
It's
Yeah.
County of Cheshire, if that changes anything.
And.
you're on it.
And the website, you know, we gotta separate a category there. I don't even know where it is. Because under news, there's nothing really new.
Yeah, the press releases might not be on the website at the moment. I need to update the news section.
Because we need to have a separate section for community power.
Yes,
Drop now.
yeah,
I don't know if it's gonna be under this.
under community resources, I'll send you a link.
That's not, that's,
You want easier access.
yeah, I want it to be, you know, just like,
Your own
any,
banner, your own.
just like any other, you know, it's
Well, I can put you under.
just like a department or something. Somebody
Sure.
goes there rather than, well, it must be under resources,
Oh, yeah, happy.
that kind of thing.
Yep.
Does it have meat to it?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I'm
What kind of
I'm
meat?
looking to utilize. Press releases on the website to be, if I can have that down now.
All right, so do you,
Well, it would be that we would work hand in hand with the city of Keene like we have with the swamp bats this year. Where, city of Keene and Cheshire County EMS has split. So, the ambulance, and we're getting paid for that.
We split it with.
The Keene City of Keene, yeah. We approached, Kevin Watterson approached us, and I said, you need to reach out to the city of Keene. Because it's in the city, and that's one of the things that we said we would do. And they came back and said, let's just split it. And on top of that, there have been certain situations where they haven't been able to have the staff to cover it. And we've covered on very short notice to be able to ensure that they have somebody out there.
how much?
It's really, it's only one person out there. There's no ambulance. It's just one staff person going out there. And they're getting paid, you know, it's 125 or 150, I can't remember, for the 2 hours that they're out there. It's, and it's also, they get their food, they can bring family members, whoever in, they get a food voucher of like $20 and something else. So it's been a win for everybody.
Okay, so for that $5,000, you need to, some action to
I need to be able to.
move money from that.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate, but I think it's under the 10,000.
I mean, I don't know that you necessarily need to get a motion if you've got money in your outside service line. I guess it's really, unless they
Well,
don't support it, I guess that's.
that would be there.
But again, I don't
Seems a
see
little
that.
rich. I understand the history and all this, but it's still a private. Just,
There are two other levels, but, the other two levels. I just think,
I mean, it's not really advertising. It's just, we're just giving the money.
oh, no, full page color ad. And we can do whatever we want in there. So it's 100% an ad,
What are the other levels?
3,500 and 1,500. And it's, you get less of what I've told you before, but
It's 225 years. No, it's not 250, 225.
225.
Waiting for a motion.
Well, out of all of these opportunities, we need to think about each one, possibly post that banner and all that other stuff. Sure it's directed to the website. and Work that up. I'll make a motion. Take the here.
Oh, geez.
Sponsorship. of Anniversary celebration.
Is there a second? For discussion purposes, Ian?
For discussion purposes.
For discussion?
Can we get mugs?
That was pretty dear.
You got a swag bag. It should say in here, right? Wait, give it up.
How many old bugs do we have?
Somebody really does think in mugs are important because he's got a shirt, carpet plug right here.
I gotta get another one though, because one of these days I'm gonna hang on to it. It's gonna- So, so you have objections.
As you can tell, I'm a bit ambivalent.
Who else, which other organization would be the big sponsor?
Won't be KBK.
You know,
This is a community organization behind it.
well, they've been running a GoFundMe campaign. Weeks.
That's just ended a few weeks ago.
Started 2 years ago.
They do it every year. Every year. I get it. Year. But I like the online stuff. I don't get the paper, like the.
Well, they're gonna mail the paper. Which means you're gonna get it a day or two late.
Yeah,
No, we don't.
you know, it's.
How did they get there?
We get ours on the same day.
How?
They go press.
Yeah, still. I can mail something today to you, and you won't get it till Thursday.
About 3 weeks ago, when they announced they were going to start mailing, but then for some few weeks, we were getting it delivered to our mailbox daily. For these last, starting on Monday, we've been getting it in the mail on the day, and it's published. And it's delivered to our house from mailbox about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's fine.
Yeah,
Wow.
I would.
We live out in the boonies as well.
That's, I mean, that's great. I didn't know of any reason. Well, that's good, because I was wondering about that.
Because frankly, with the home delivery, 30% of the time, they didn't have a truck. They didn't show up anyway.
Right, and then.
Then you get 2 free days, then you get 2 free papers.
Yes.
See, and you say you get Saturday's paper, Monday's paper.
So if this process continues, it's going to be great because every day through the mail is there.
So
I appreciate it.
my other thing would be that you do. We would have an exhibit booth. So in other words, we'd have a pop-up tent and we could actually do job thing and have our opportunity to have our.
What did we decide to do with Raddick?
That would be something that would have to. Sure, we're gonna do that. We had done that prior for 2 years.
Was that right?
15.
All right, folks. So, no, stay there as long as you want, but.
Okay, so what are the things that we get?
You would get mission of support by the president, typically. Fireworks, softball game sponsorship. Gift swag giveaway opportunity. Full page color ad in the commemorative edition. Logo on front page of commemorative edition, 80,000. Co-branded logo inclusion on all event marketing, co-branded logo inclusion all digital advertising, co-branded logo inclusion and all on-site.
All right, so the opportunities we have to get our message across. And to the ad.
And the impressions out there.
Yeah.
Just have full page ad, are they doing?
Full page.
They're doing a special section.
They're doing a you know how they do their nice magazines, that's what they're doing. They've been working on it for 2 months. With fillers for whatever, you know, as they can.
Well, I'll be okay with it. I think that the print media is it's on the ropes.
Oh, that's
Yeah, we have to open the campaign.
well, that there's still people wanting. It's paper. If you look at the advertising.
Yeah.
News hole used to be 80-20. Now it's,
I mean, I can't remember. Those things are ads. Just don't.
well, people don't go there.
But then the other question is, how else do you get it?
That's for sure.
How you around? That's it. I do. They're in a vulnerable position in there. Also, more days, maybe this will help. Just not sure it changes what the meeting is gonna be.
I don't know. You made the motion.
Too late.
Well, no, it wasn't actually what you said, it's for
Yeah.
discussion only.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, you know, it's something, it's part of the shared history that Cheshire County has with, you know, there aren't very many organizations or groups. And around, so
No, that's great for
It
me.
looks like that. You went over there the other day. They have one of the earliest ones. I gave it to them and said, don't hurt it, don't lose it, don't. But they have one of the earliest ones because I said, Prentice, it says his name right on it. You know, we've had that relationship going back, you know, the 1800s, you know, so. That's why, I mean, and really it hit home when you, I think it was you went over there and said, listen, it said Prentice right on this. We've had this relationship with the Keene Sentinel. They've done our annual report,
I still say they're only continuous customer.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, unless there's some other, I mean, maybe there's.
So how can I
maybe
back
there's-
off the rhetoric now?
You can't.
and then.
I'm stuck. If we're dying in for dollar.
I'm gonna call the question.
Commissioner, now do we have to vote on, now we have to vote on your calling the question. Commissioner Wasback.
Aye.
Commissioner England. Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
So the question is, of the 5,000 that's been seconded, Commissioner Wasback,
Yes.
Commissioner England,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
You were with the majority, just so you know.
I was with the
With the
majority.
yes.
Oh, with the
There
yes.
was two
Oh,
yeses
yeah,
and
2
an aye
yeses.
over
and an
here.
aye. Oh, wow.
I never responded in 5.5 years.
I know.
Yes.
You just caught me. All right, that's it for me. I'm gonna move on to, any old business. Any new business?
Are we gonna talk union at all? We have a meeting next
Yeah,
Monday,
yeah, I have, that's why I talked, I sent,
right? So are we gonna have a non-meeting?
well, it's twofold. I didn't know if I wanted to see if we wanted to talk to, Tom, see if we push it out.
I think we're gonna need to.
I think we're gonna need to too.
Yeah, because we
Me
are
too.
not paired and really they want money.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really about the money and I don't know if we're just quite ready there
I
yet.
think we just need to explain that we haven't had commissioners meeting for 2 weeks and we weren't prepared to be able to
Yeah.
have the discussions at this meeting.
Yeah, because I have an idea, but I
Are
want
we-
to, I
but
want
we're
you
not
and I
meeting
to talk,
next
I
week
want,
either.
huh?
We're not meeting next week either.
Why not?
Are you guys going to Tampa?
No,
No,
Oh,
no, we're leaving on Friday.
so we have the 10th and the 17th, but I would like to give
and
the
I'm not
meeting,
here the 17th.
Right.
So,
so,
Under potential new business, I'd like to talk about dates for the picnic, which we will again host this year, but be better to do after the meeting.
okay. All right, so, so consent agenda, vote to accept the weekly manifest and minutes of June 26, 2024.
So move.
Second?
Yes.
Commissioner Wasback. Commissioner England.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Oh, my God. New trick.
Yes.
Calendar, I don't think there's anything there, except what you just brought up, we can talk about that afterwards. General discussion for commissioners, no, really not a non-public, but we can, if you choose to, go into a non-meeting to discuss union matters if you choose to. Because there we can just hold it until next week and then have everything ready and just give you guys everything right then and there.
wouldn't hurt maybe to just
Yeah.
give a little bit of an
Whatever
update.
you want to do.
Tease us.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go in or not.
Okay,
We'll adjourn.
so motion to adjourn,
So move.
Second.
okay, Commissioner Wasback,
Yes.
Commissioner England,
Aye.
and Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Okay. Just, and we're adjourned.
Yeah. Maybe, can you, I get that?